New Day, brought to you by Vodafone.
Power to you.
Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil. Malcolm, ASN Financial Services. And supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
This is New Day, Saturday edition. Good morning and welcome to the show. My name is Abna Tebi and thank you for joining me. We're coming to you live from the studios of TV3 in Accra. We're also live on 3FM 92.7 and we're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com. Indeed, we'll be running from now till 10 a.m. and we'll be doing a lot of analysis of issues that have made the headlines during the week. This week, we'll start off with some global issues and everybody's talking about it. Brexit all the way. We'll be looking at the impact Brexit would have on Ghana, Africa, and indeed the world at large. So Britain went to the polls on Thursday the 23rd, and by a decision of 52% against 48%, the UK decided to walk out or walk away from the European Union. Now, this may be a win for democracy, but on the other hand, you're looking at how this affects political and economic integration. Is this some form of rejection of globalization or integration for that matter? The process of Brexit and Britain's exit has started with this referendum outcome, and the processes would be triggered and eventually Britain would be out of the EU. But the aftermath of this referendum is bringing a number of interesting things up. Scotland, for instance, is to revive its quest to have independence from the UK, which in itself threatens the cohesion of the United Kingdom as a unit on its own. So indeed, a number of dimensions to this Brexit issue. We'll be looking at that. My panelists will be bringing their perspective to bear on this matter as usual. And then we'll come down locally to look at what's happening on our political scene, particularly looking at what's happening with the EC. This week, the Supreme Court ordered the Electoral Commission to furnish the court with a list of national health insurance persons who registered in 2012 to vote with national health insurance cards. Now, this is coming against the backdrop of the decision in the Abu Ramadan case of May 5th, 2016, where the Supreme Court directed the Electoral Commission to take immediate steps to clean up the voters' register. Now, you know all about what happened after that decision. Talks about ambiguities here and there. We're asking the question, does this order of the Supreme Court bring some finality to the approach the EC is to adopt to clean up the voters' register? Again, the panelists in here will be bringing their perspectives to bear on this issue. Now, speaking of elections, we will be talking about what's happening on the campaign trails. Now, as usual, it's a campaign season and politicians are going around making their usual promises. We'll be asking questions about this, but in particular, a promise has come up or has caught the attention of Ghanaians. Which one am I talking about? I'm talking about the NPP's promise to execute an industrialization agenda which involves the establishment of a factory in each of the 216 districts of Ghana. Is this doable? Well, some people have already discounted this promise as being impractical, unfeasible, and perhaps just a mere wishful thinking of some sort. Others are also saying that, well, perhaps if you produce us, if you share with us some further and better particulars of how you intend to execute this agenda, perhaps we could buy into this. Or what? And the NPP nonetheless is insisting that this is a very much achievable promise. It shouldn't be taken as a mere political rhetoric. Lastly, we will turn our attention to the alleged conflict of interest issue. This matter was started, we discussed it last week, involving the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and a forward expedition. We'll be asking more questions about this, particularly in the light of the fact that the President has made some statements in respect of this allegation. And again, we have 3 petitions being submitted to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. We'll be asking questions about this. What does this mean, particularly as we work our way towards elections? We'll take a break. When we come back, all these issues lined up, we'll be discussing them in depth. My name is Abnati. We will take a quick break. When we come back, New Day Saturday edition continues.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
You have the power to reconnect old flames.
Francis Ampong, my first love. Oh. We used to dance all night long.
I know a place.
Then he went away to study law. I still think about him sometimes.
We have the network to make it possible.
I'll take you there. Hit me all. I'll take you there.
Amazing things happen when you move to a great network.
Bugao, baby.
Francis!
Make that move! Port to Vodafone. Enjoy an amazing experience. And if you aren't satisfied, you'll get your money back.
Vodafone, power to you.
It's the Connect FM Launch Concert. Make a date with us on the 1st of July 2016. Venue Jubilee Park. Time 7 p.m. till you drop. Artist Kofi Kenata. Ketcha. Narrow X. Wow Cassie.
Me pop it off. Me pop it off.
Jack Alala and many more. It's the Connect FM Launch Concert. Connect 97.1 FM. Yenye wanam.
In the beginning was our legacy, value and beauty. This legacy was inherited by our first beauty queen, Amma from the Central region.
Alright, so Amma takes a final lap.
Then it moved on from one queen to another.
Ghana's most beautiful has been crowned. You are an incredible audience.
Ghana's most beautiful. Season 9, ladies and gentlemen. AC!
Now, the legacy is here to stay. Who has the confidence to take that challenge?
Join the audition training Kumasi Golden Bean Hotel in Shiaso from 25th to the 26th of June 2016 and in Accra from 28th to the 30th of June 2016 at TV3 premises. Download GMB audition forms from 3news.com. Post your photos on social media and hashtag GMB10. Ghana's Most Beautiful Season 10 only on TV3. Ghana's Most Beautiful, redefining beauty to promote national unity.
My name is Nana Santua Afajinu. I'm the Executive Director of the West Africa Civil Society Institute, WACSI. This year, as a Ghanaian, I will be voting for my leaders for the next 4 years. Just like you, I want to have credible, authentic, accurate information. And that is why I will be hooked to the Election Command Center on MG platforms. Election Command Center, join us.
This is your Election Command Center.
TV3 brings you bigger and better of new drama programming.
Talk about Aaron dying again. I don't want to talk about what happened.
State of Affairs is a new action drama series which involves a top CIA analyst tasked daily to brief the President of the United States on the biggest international issues facing the country. Make a date on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. for an action-filled series. Only on TV3.
This week on Captured by Women.
How else can you create or generate revenue?
I mean, Ghana's debt, we're in a very serious debt situation by 2001. We are sitting on oil and we are poor. It's inexcusable. It's leadership.
Great.
Poor leadership. Leadership that has no ideas what to do in any situation. We are coming in with a competent team. We're coming in with qualified Ghanaians to help us fix the financial hemorrhage the country finds itself in.
My name is Bosman Erikasari. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Science and also the head of the department. This election is a very important election in the life of Ghanaians. Ghanaians are going to choose a leader who is going to steer the economic heights of our country. And as such, we need a mediator who is very authentic, who will give us the right information for us to decide. Because of this, I'm encouraging and inviting each and every one of you to tune into the Election Command Center with the TV3, the 3FM and the Unia FM family.
This is your Election Command Center.
Girls, did you hear that? Whoever wins this year's Ghana Most Beautiful maintains the crown? Oh, yes!
Hurry! Don't wait to be overtaken by anyone. This year's Ghana's Most Beautiful will be hot and very competitive with fantastic packages. The auditions start now.
Join the audition training Kumasi Golden Bean Hotel in Shiaso from 25th to the 26th of June 2016 and in Accra from 28th to the 30th of June 2016 at TV3 premises. Download GMB audition forms from 3news.com. Post your photos on social media and hashtag GMB10. Ghana's Most Beautiful Season 10 only on TV3. Ghana's Most Beautiful, redefining beauty to promote national unity.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
This Sunday, Ghana's strongest Ubiado Scenic Resort, Kolegono. Come support your favorite athletes. Time 12 p.m. Only on TV3. Ghana's Strongest, the power to do. Ghana's Strongest is brought to you by Dr. Malt, Holy Trinity Spa, Darling Drink, Tabia Herbal Capsules, 5-star energy drink.
TV3 brings you bigger and better of new drama programming.
Talk about Aaron dying again. I don't want to talk about what happened.
State of Affairs is a new action drama series which involves a top CIA analyst tasked daily to brief the President of the United States on the biggest international issues facing the country. Make a date on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. for an action-filled series. Only on TV3.
The Election Command Center. Get ready for the most authoritative, comprehensive, and credible coverage of Election 2016 on TV3, 3FM, Unia FM, Connect FM, Akoma FM, and online as well as on your mobile. This is your Election Command Center.
TV3 brings you bigger and better of new drama programming. Now, Let's explore the lives of the firefighters and paramedics of Chicago Fire as they risk their life to save others. Chicago Fire, Mondays and Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Don't miss it. TV3 brings you bigger and better of new drama programming. Living in a neighborhood full of suspense, shenanigans and beautiful people set in the beautiful capital, Accra. Sunshine Avenue, showing every Wednesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. only on TV3.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
You're welcome back. This is New Day Saturday edition, and at this point I'll bring in the panel. We have with us this morning, from my far left, Dr. Ahmed Jinapor. He is a senior lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba. Next to Dr. Jinapor is Mr. Ayikoi Otoo, a senior lawyer and a former Attorney General of the Republic. And to my right here is Mr. Kojo Safwa-Poku. He is an energy expert and also a political commentator. You're welcome, gentlemen.
I like when the titles are added on. Now I've gotten political commentator.
I know. Anyway, so this morning, a number of issues lined up, but we are starting with what everybody's talking about, the most trending issue in terms of global issues, Brexit, and the aftermath of that historic referendum, which has caused a lot of shockwaves across all sectors. Possibly the most hard hit being the financial markets, and we see what the impact has been on the pound. I'll start with you, Mr. Ayikoi Otoo. What do you make of this historic referendum, and were you shocked by the outcome?
Well, it's a European affair, more or less. My understanding is that Europe wants to, come together, have a common market, a larger base for trading. From the analysis we are hearing, they then became the largest, common market that you could have anywhere. Unfortunately, there are issues with the British. They have always talked about immigration, jobs, and the economy. And these three appear to have driven them to where they have now landed themselves. The danger with immigration, the free movement of people all over, and what is happening with the northern, African countries, Libya, people moving from there, and Syria, some of the refugees all running into Europe, makes them feel like they are not secure. They are in competition with other skilled laborers from other countries because we can move to Europe, move about generally. So they become a little bit jittery, Euroscepticism, whether they ought to remain or to move out. Now, there is rather unfortunate for Cameroon because the way the system works, if you go and call a referendum and you lose, that means that people don't agree with you anymore, so you've got to move out. So now they ask him to move out. Now the danger rather is with these Scottish people who say that, well, we have voted overwhelmingly to remain, and you people say you are going. So we want to have a second referendum to decide whether we should even be part of the United Kingdom. I don't know, UK's land mass is almost the same as that of Ghana. is a population which is a bit high, over 60-something million, compared with our 26 or whatever. So it's not a big country. It's these people coming together, other, Scottish and the rest, Welsh and whatever, to form the United Kingdom. So if the breakup comes as a result of this referendum, it may also have negative effect on the union itself, whether it can, the center or the anchor can hold, thereafter. Economically, I don't know, because what they are saying is that if you're a member of the union, then, you just fit in. But if you are not, then you have to negotiate, with individual members.
And that's what they would have to start planning eventually. But Mr. Otoo, you mentioned something about immigration, which indeed is one of the major factors that led to this exit. But immigration, or the free movement of persons in the talk about integration and all, is one of the inherent challenges itself in the quest to integrate. Because if you're integrating economically or politically, it comes with that. So how can we ensure that in our quest to integrate as a community, if you like, because we as Africans are also having our own challenges here in terms of AU and all of that. How do you ensure that there is a balance?
Well, you see, a United Kingdom or a EU community is not the same as the United States of America. That kind of union is independent countries coming together to sign a multi-purpose agreement, if you like, or multi-party agreement on certain things that they want to, collaborate in, So long as it is, a loose thing, and you have the Article 50, which allows you to exit if you want to exit and just follow certain rules and go out. It should be some kind of history that we can learn from. We also used to have just the OAU, Organization of African Unity. We moved on to AU, which is the African Union, and we have constitutive, agreements as to what we want to do and the rest. If it is not a United States where we all see ourselves as one country, with one president, but different governors, then of course, where the center can no longer hold, then you find some of these difficulties. So we may learn from their, history. As ourselves, in West Africa, it is said that Ghana and Nigeria are the movers and the shakers. If we put our act together, then the others follow us, because they are smaller countries, just like Britain. We are not a big country, but we can make a lot of noise. In Ghana, we have quite a number of people that we can trust, who can do quite bring out a lot of difference. So I think we should learn from what has happened, find out how the immigration issues. Most people think that the immigration issue is going to be worsened for Africans in particular, because from the British history, if you go to the British High Commission, it's not easy for you to get a visa, especially if you are not a member of the EU country. So what happens now that they say we are on our own and want to go and scrutinize everything and make sure that we don't get people coming there. But there was some interesting aspect I saw yesterday. Somebody posted that the Africans and Ghanaians in Britain voted. So why are we worried if Togolese are coming to vote? They should also
foreigners are determining the cause of.
But then somebody put in a very nice analysis that, look, first of all, you must be a Commonwealth, a member of a Commonwealth country to be there, and that would then qualify you, to get, this opportunity at voting. It's not like you are a Togolese through and through, and then you come and vote and say, me too.
Have a field, I live in Ghana. That's true, yes. And thank you very much,
These are some of the issues that keep on
I want
trending.
to bring Dr. Jinapo in at this point. So yes, it happened. Definitely there are implications. But what do you see as the immediate term implications to Ghana or for Ghana?
Well, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers, and it's a privilege to be with Lawyer Nko. I think before I answer that question, this whole issue about Britain exiting the European Union needs to be understood relative to who Britain was in terms of the coming into being of the European Union. And it will interest you to know, Abana, that if you look at the coming into being, initially started as European Economic Community. It was just a group of 6 countries, Germany, a couple of them. As a matter of fact, Britain joined somewhere in 1973. And there were reasons why this formation came about, and one of them had to do with economic, and beyond economic, it also had to do with political. Because
they showed nationalism after the World War II.
And even before then, there were a lot of wars in Europe. I mean, these guys thought, look, we have something that binds us together than what divides us. So why don't we come together, form an economic community? It was an economic community. It was just not too long ago that it became a union. And even when you talk about some of the issues that most people claim have been the reason why Britain opted out. Even with Britain, I mean, in terms of immigration, they are quite a little bit different, because if you are going to an EU country, you take a Schengen visa. But when you are going to UK...
UK is not part of the Schengen area.
That is
they don't even use the euro as well.
That's where that was going to. So Britain has always had some reservations regarding the way the EU operates. But
we've always been skeptical.
Yeah. But coming back to the immediate question that you asked, I will not pretend to be an expert when it comes to these issues, but I've heard a number of people who have the know-how when it comes to ramifications of these things. And I speak as a layman. I think if you look at the way things have worked out, especially regarding our commentary in Ghana, prior to this voting, it looks as if the whole world has been taken by surprise.
Totally.
Nobody really expected this coming. And not just taken by surprise, it looks as if the whole world are disappointed about the outcome. You look at world leaders, most people claim, and even I think most of the prominent world leaders like Obama,
the French
and all those people have been much emphatic that, look, it's better for the United Kingdom to stay. But the ordinary people have spoken.
And that's the beauty of democracy, really. It's a win for democracy.
So
at the end of
it
the
tells
day.
you that there is a disconnection between the ruling and the ordinary people. What is the consequences, or what is the ramification for us as a country? I think, number one, if you look at the way the global markets responded, it tells you that we need to be pragmatic in how we deal with this issue. Yes, Ghana has bilateral relations with most of these countries in the EU, but at the end of the day, we also have worked with UK relative to them being members of the European Union. And I think even somewhere in April, Obama did say when he visited London that, look, if in terms of relationship, even though historically the US have had close ties with the UK, but when it comes to relationship economically, they would like to deal with the European Union first because of the market. And the UK will have to join the queue. I'm told, that based on what happened, it affected the city. Even though, I mean, Ghana, we don't have such a robust stock market that you can easily determine how the effects are. But I think at the end of the day, for us as a country, as I said, we need to be proactive, because we've had instances where this disintegration have had dire consequences for most for the whole world. If you look at the United Soviet Republic, when there was that disintegration, I mean, Africa, as a matter of fact, became one of the places where we suffered most as a result of this disintegration, because we had huge piles of weapons that went to wrong hands, and most of them came to Africa. And you remember what happened in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and all these wars that were going on. Today, as we speak, we are not even sure if this whole movement by Britain to be out of EU is going to cascade into other countries that are part of the United Kingdom pulling out. You know, I've heard leaders of Scotland Ireland,
No,
making claims that, look, they may pull out of the UK. If that happens, what is going to be the ramification? Because the pound sterling definitely is not going to be the currency that is going to be used by most of these countries. So I would want Ghana as a country to look at this issue with all degree of seriousness, and we should not just sidestep it. We should just not push it aside and think that business as normal. I don't think it's going to be business as normal. And if you look at what has happened in the world markets, and Ghana, an economy of ours which is not that resilient, if we are not careful. And you know, we've had close ties with the United Kingdom. Quite apart from they being our, what do they call it, our colonial masters. They've supported our budget so many times. They've supported so many projects. And as a matter of fact, you will get to know that the UK hosts a lot of Ghanaian immigrants. A lot of Ghanaian immigrants. Those times we talk of going abroad, I mean, you're going to the UK. And most of these people send money down. So we cannot just whitewash it. We need to be serious about it, and we need to be proactive in dealing with it. I think we were taken by surprise, and of course, I've heard most people, as I said, say that, look, it's normal, it's business as usual, but I think it's more serious than that.
Speaking, I mean, one of the perhaps implications to Ghanaians, definitely in the area of migration, if you like, we would have some impact there, in the sense that, you know, when with the EU free movement and all, you had people coming from all over into the UK to compete with, quote unquote, Ghanaians who were also seeking, you know, exactly. So now perhaps the thinking out there is, okay, so well, yes, if they are no longer coming in, perhaps then the chances of us getting
but you think, before you go to my brother, I think there's also one thing. We are looking at the consequences and ramifications vis-a-vis our relationship with UK. I think, first of all, even beyond the economic issues, Ghana has always had inspiration from the United Kingdom. And if you look at our fourth Republican dispensation, our democracy is modeled based on a measure of the UK and the US style. I think there's one instructive thing that came out of this whole process. The principle being held by the Prime Minister of what? Of UK. He during his campaign, made a campaign promise that, look, when I get into power, I'm going to give you people the chance to make a decision on whether you want to belong to the European Union or not. And in fact, when he made that promise, it wasn't as if he was telling them, be with the EU or not. It meant that there was some undercurrent.
Definitely, there's something,
you know, something informed that decision. And he took a stand. And because the people did not go with him, in principle, he said, look, I'm stepping out. I think that is commendable, and that is something
right, and that's another interesting point.
We need to take forward.
Thank you, Dr. Jinapor. You've mentioned a number of things, but I'll start from the very point where you left off. Whether or not David Cameron perhaps now is regretting his decision is another thing.
He said he doesn't.
Very well.
He said he doesn't. But that's what we call principle.
That's true.
I mean, you believed in something.
You stood for it,
and the people, and mind you, I mean, the difference was just 51 to 48. It wasn't that huge, but the principle behind him saying that, look, this is where I wanted to take you to. Unfortunately, majority of you are not in line with my thinking. So there needs to be a new leadership. And I think that is something. How many Ghanaian leaders do that? Or how many African leaders do that? We don't.
Very well. And I will start, Mr. Poku. Doc mentioned something about the disconnect between the leadership and those being led. And you know, Telegraph has reported that since the outcome of the referendum, there's been a number of Google searches inquiring about what does it mean for Britain to exit the European Union. Does that give an indication that perhaps the people voted but didn't know exactly what they were voting for or what they were voting about?
Well, if you watch the debate going into this referendum, there were a lot of ifs. Nobody, it's an uncharted territory. Like my brother said, this thing happened in '73. This is way back. What all that Brexit were coming up with, that, oh, if we go, this is what's going to happen, was hypothesis. In campaigners were also hypothesizing that, look, if you go out, this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. And I think that this vote is the beginning of a new chapter. It doesn't end any dispute, it just starts a dispute. in the sense that, like my senior said, that you have Scotland also wants to leave. Scotland will leave. Because if you look at the number of people that voted in Scotland,
that was close, 55 to 45.
Yes,
so, yeah.
No, very huge population in Scotland voted to stay in. And one of the things after their referendum in a couple of years ago was that if the UK, they want to be part of the European Union, and they will not allow the UK to take them out of the European Union. So now it now allows them to align with the European Union and come out of the UK and join a bigger bloc. Now, to the England or to Britain, so to say, it's not really about the migration that is their problem. It's not the free movement of people that's their problem. You see, the UK has the biggest welfare state, okay? Housing benefits, national health insurance, all the benefits that you can get, child support, and all the things that you get the minute you enter UK and you're a citizen. And the minute they became part of the European Union, the Polish, the Romanians, all the other countries, when they now enter the UK, they have the same right as the British. So if they go into the hospital, all their 10 kids, 15 kids that they come with have the same benefits as the UK. So the toll on their welfare system was so huge that they didn't have a way to check it. And the thing is, you realize that you have a scenario whereby everybody who is sick or needs medical attention, if it's too expensive in Poland or Romania or in France or Italy, you go to England and you can get free healthcare. And they felt that it was not right.
Exactly, but that is coming as a result of the free movement, because that grants you the access.
Free movement, no, the free movement is still going to happen, because I don't see how the British passport is going to have to queue for visas into Europe, because then it makes a lot of the things very because
but
they have the
once
Euro
you're
tunnel.
out of it, all the rights or privileges that you were given, you're not necessarily going to have them anymore.
The thing is that if you want free movement for your people, and that's something that I think Cameron doesn't want to do, the negotiation for what England get and what they don't get. If you want free movement for your people, which I don't see how somebody holding a British passport, like it's like the American passport going into the UK. The American passport doesn't need a visa; it's visa free.
But that's dependent on bilateral agreements.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, that they are going to negotiate that.
Exactly.
When they negotiate
yet to happen,
that,
and then
yet to happen and see. But I believe strongly that they will negotiate for free movement of their people, because if you don't do that, then what it means is that you're going to have UK citizens applying for visa to go to Italy.
But you see, it raises another issue about, serving as a deterrent to other states, because then you're making it seem like you can come in and just walk out easily. No, and that is going to weaken the strength of the EU.
A different dynamic. You see, for what the UK is concerned with, if somebody now, when Britain now exits, finally, if you come in with an European passport, you don't have the same right as a British citizen on their welfare system. That is the difference they are looking at. The free movement is not their problem. You can come in, but when you come in, you decide to stay, you can't immediately go and claim housing benefit. You are an illegal immigrant. If you are an EU individual and you decide to stay in the UK or in England, you're a legal immigrant. It's the same as a Ghanaian going in there and deciding to stay and not going through the proper process. In the past, before this referendum, what was happening that any EU member that enters the UK has every right as the British or the English. After the exit, when you come in, yes, you can come in. But you come in the length of time you want to be here, but you can't compete and have any right or benefits or anything that comes with being in the UK. So if they want to deport you, you can be deported. If you go to the hospital, you have to pay to the NHIS or pay the hospital fees as an African or an Australian would do when they enter the UK. So that is why to the exit, that is what they think they want to do. The free movement of people, I think, is still going to happen, because I don't really see how the Red Book, which is the UK passport, is going to require visa to go to all the European Union countries.
Very well.
Okay. I think, first of all, I'm not well versed with the issues, the dynamics of the United Kingdom, but I'm just looking at it from a logical point of view. Number one, I think we need to be careful not to reduce the reasons why the ordinary populace, and I try to use the word ordinary populace, because the establishment, that is those in charge of UK, were in support of this particular union. In fact, Tony Blair, post the election, said that that was the biggest mistake that the United Kingdom had made, and they are going to regret it. So in terms of policy managers had never had a problem with the European Union, but the ordinary people. So it means there's fundamentally what? Something fundamentally wrong. And I'm hesitant to reduce it to what? Immigration, in the sense that, number one, the UK is a sovereign country, even though it's a member of what? The European Union, just as other countries. And being a member of the European Union, there were terms. And one of the terms was that the EU, the UK was not going to be what? A member of what? Schengen.
Right.
That said, for 40-something years that the UK had been a member of the European Union, these things probably did not come up. Why are they coming up now? I think there will have to be a scientific empirical study, and I think the UK is capable of doing that, to find out what informed the decision for them to what? To leave the union. But for us, I think we also have to pick some lesson out of it. You know, there's been all this call for African Union, a single currency. I mean, if today the United Kingdom is going, you see, there's a difference between a union where we have independent states being together for certain purpose, and where independent states give up their sovereignty. In the United States, we have only one state. I mean, we have states.
They see themselves as Americans first, and then as citizens of the special states second. Whereas in the EU situation,
it's a country, it's a
one
country. But here, it's not a country. We have countries coming together. You remember what happened with Greece, what they went through. So I think the EU has been a success, but as my brother rightly said, this is the beginning of, I would say, a revolution, so to speak, because we seriously, as a world, did not expect this. And it's come to us as a shock, and I think we need to be cautious in coming out with reasons that led to it. There need to be studies to find out, because if you look at the responses from almost the whole world, and even the posture of world leaders prior to this whole particular thing, everybody was going in for what? The union. And today what has happened is something that has not been anticipated. So as a country Ghana, a small country Ghana, an insignificant country Ghana, and a country that is highly dependent on the UK, there's no doubt about it.
And that's where I want us to go now,
I think we need to be extremely cautious in what we think will be. Because
looking at the impact of that in terms of our trade relations, EPA, for instance, can we now go on our own to negotiate with the UK, for instance?
I wanted to talk about this immigration thing. You see, the three main drivers were immigration, jobs, and economy. Right. So to say that immigration is not a big deal, to me, cannot represent the position. Because, I mean, as I said, it's a small country in the first place. The land mass is almost just like that of Ghana. You have a very large population of over 65 million and all that. And then with this free movement of people, everybody keeps coming, you know, coming in and going, competing with them when it comes to jobs and all that. And they say, look, we want to have an economy, we want to be free, we want to work in our country. These competitions appear to be too many, you know. So to me, the immigration cannot be taken off it.
Again, that's what I was asking earlier. How do we ensure, because Ms. Otoo, this is one of the inherent things in integration issues.
Yes.
People will definitely move. So how do we ensure that there's not that burden put on, quote unquote, those countries deemed to be better off than the others? Because again, the essence of integration is to ensure equality of some sort, to help the weak become strong a bit, those kinds of things. So how do we ensure that? And I'm saying this because of AU and the challenges we have.
There isn't much you can do about it. We still have the 90 days in Ghana, among the ECOWAS countries, where you can also move in and go. Look at the trick some people play with importation of cars. They bring in the car, use it for 3 months, and take it back.
Some people even take the car, they take the papers to the border,
and then bring it back and all that. So usually, these are usual problems.
Right.
Again, if you are trying to talk of integration, then sure, you want to see yourself as one. Exactly. That is a more reason why you want to move freely from one country to the other. So that cannot be discounted. You've got to take that into consideration. But then what will be the effects on your people and their economy? That's the issue.
And your duties to your citizens.
Exactly. Having looked at all that, when you feel that is becoming a problem, you know, people are competing for jobs. And mind you, I do not believe that is the middle class, upper, and the rest who are worried. Surely it will be those down there.
And you know, BBC was reporting yesterday that there's this animosity between the youth and the old. The youth saying that, well, you voted us out, and you're determining our destiny now. When you've had your turn, you've benefited under all these arrangements. So why don't you allow us? So there's that also going on.
But the youth should have voted. They should have voted.
Was it not about 60%? The voting. I think it's only about 60 people.
The turnout, 72%.
72 rather.
72%, yes.
Well, but
the youth, the turnout for the youth they expected was quite low, especially in the UK area, where when they did the demographics yesterday, you realize that most people that were low income voted to exit. Most people who were high income areas voted to stay in. So that is why if you look at the map and the demographics that they did, the London area, which has high property rates and all that, they voted to stay in. And then Newcastle, Sunderland, and all those areas where it is a low-income area where they are finding difficulty with the jobs and they feel the economy is not going the right, they voted to go out. The elderly voted to leave, but the youth did not show the amount of youth that the Buchanan thought could come out. Did not come out to vote the way they should have, and it's unfortunate. It's a missed opportunity.
And that is why I keep saying that it's too early for us to pin it down to one factor, which for me is immigration. In the sense that, I mean, when you look at the EU, the UK, interestingly, is not the economic hub or the economic superpower.
Well, it's the second largest economy in the EU.
It's not the economic superpower. Germany is there. Why is it that Germany is not experiencing these happenings? Maybe
because Germany doesn't have the social welfare system that the UK has.
So the whole thing has to do with social welfare system.
That's what it is.
That is why you see Calais. If you watch the news, you see all the immigrants in France. There's Germany. From France to Germany, you can easily go. You don't need. But they are trying to swim to the UK. They are trying to hide in cars to the UK, hide in trains. They don't need to do that to go to France, to go to Germany. From France to Germany, you can walk in. There's no borders.
So I think
we need to wrap up on this to move on to the issue. So maybe your last words.
The bottom line is that, look, the voting has
I mean, the people have spoken.
So we as a people or as a country who has ties with the UK, and as I said, what happens in UK definitely has effect on us. We should be looking at how we can position ourselves post the UK exit, and that should be the focus of our discussion moving forward.
Very well. Your last words on this, the ramifications of this on Ghana, perhaps, and then we wrap up on this in the week.
Well, we are not generally. We are no longer under any slavery or looking at any big master anywhere. We are masters in our own rights. So. We live in the world as an independent country, that's Ghana for you. So we should, on our own, try to chart our own course. Not necessarily, you know, the annoying part of where we always want some handouts, you know, from big brothers and the rest, which do not also come easily, but come with conditions. You know, do this, otherwise we won't give you that. Should we continue that way? We should try win ourselves from all this and leave us an independent country.
Yes, the world has moved on. You know, the economic powers of today are not the English or the UK. You know, but when they come out, and they have come out, when all the dust is settled, the EU is still a bigger bloc. You know, Ghana is better off positioning itself, negotiating with a bigger bloc than with a smaller bloc. And I mean, if the oil that they even have will be taken away by Scotland when Scotland the Scottish eventually leave, and it will, exactly. So the Britain, as might end up being England, would mostly be
just England.
It will be England, and it will be a very service country. All the banks and stuff are there. London is a good place to go shopping if you want to go there. But in terms of economy, I think the world has moved on. The big powers of the world. I mean, and in terms of even inflows, okay, direct businesses or direct investment into Ghana. The UK don't do much in the last 20 years. You know, if you go to the Ghana Investment Promotion Council and look at how many UK companies invest in Ghana, most of them are service industries from Aberdeen when we started this oil and gas.
Right.
Yes, but in terms of in manufacturing and other areas, the UK doesn't have it anymore. The world has moved on past them being that giant that we need to worry about. Yes, like my brother said, a lot of money is coming from there because our family lives there, and all the remittance, the money might not be enough for our brothers and sisters if the pound is devalued to that level.
Right. So let's just get our act together and then compete favorably in the world market. Pretty much that's what we're summing up with. Now we'll be moving on to another interesting thing that happened in the week, where the Supreme Court ordered the EC to furnish it with a list of persons who registered in 2012 to vote with the National Health Insurance cards. I think this issue has been debated over and over again, stemming from or dating way back to the Abu Ramadan case 1, and then recently Abu Ramadan case 2, where on the 5th of May, the Supreme Court directed or ordered the EC to take immediate steps to clean the voters register. And again, lots of interpretations given to that order. People talking about ambiguities. People saying, no, it's not ambiguous. It's very clear. Let's go ahead and do that. Now the EC, the Supreme Court has come out to order this from the EC. Mr. Otoo, does this bring some finality to that debate?
If the media wants it to stop, it will stop. I was talking to a media house yesterday, and I said, you know, you keep on asking questions, calling people. The EC, some of these directives are given directly to the EC. Why don't you find out from them what they want to do? But the first thing you do is to call an MPP sympathizer, call an NDC sympathizer, and people just start talking. Everybody is trying to put an interpretation. For the first time, I've seen so many non-lawyers giving interpretation as to what a Supreme Court, decision means, without regard to, the nitty-gritty. Everybody is just talking. I have said that going back to Abu Ramadan 1, it is so, clear. I don't see the issue. Article 42 talks about only citizens of Ghana, 18 years above and of sound mind, being given the opportunity to register. Prove that you are a Ghanaian. Some say I 75 or 2 or something said, oh, you could also use a national insurance ID card. Then somebody goes to say, how can you prove you're a Ghanaian by just using that card? It doesn't show that you're a Ghanaian. You are in Ghana, you've lived there for about 6 months, you are entitled to the facilities, so you decide to go for an NHIS card. Is that sufficient to show that you're a Ghanaian? So Supreme Court comes and says, no, this is our declaration. It is contrary to Article 42. Those people who have those cards cannot properly be said to have proven that they are Ghanaians. Then the stories started. Call this man, call that woman, everybody says his own thing. So the people say, let's go back again, Abu Ramadan 2. What is it that you actually said about it? Does it mean their names ought to be there? Supreme Court comes out clearly, delete, clean. Anybody whose name ought not to be there because it does not qualify constitutionally. So the interpretation started. Oh, so aliens cannot be there. So people who are minors cannot be there. So people with NHIS cannot be there. Then the usual stories again, interpretations. Oh, it didn't mean that. It did that. The Supreme Court never used NHIS cards. It never mentioned that. What else could they have said? When the Supreme Court went ahead and said, having deleted those names, give them the opportunity once again so they will not be disenfranchised. Are we saying that dead people will benefit from this? Aliens will benefit from this? So it is only one interpretation. They still said no. So they've gone Abu Ramadan 3. They said, but we told you it should be holders of national insurance identification cards. So please, now supply us the list. People are asking, why should we tell them to do that? Who keeps charge of the records?
Database.
You have the data. And we ask you during the interaction in court, can you identify them? Say, no, there's something called Form 1A. From that, we will be able to identify them. So he said, now you have custody of it. Produce it. Why should this also lead to talk? Allow them to say. I was here the last time I said so. If you are unable to comply with the court order, what do? Go back and tell them the difficulty you have. Then the court can say, okay, in view of what we have said, we will vary our order to say that do it this way. They said nothing. They allowed the NDC to lead. They kept saying all along that the interpretation others were putting on were wrong and that nobody has mentioned NHIS. Before we could say that, UC says, yes, we have not been told to remove names of NHIS, so we won't do it. That led to the third Abu Ramadan. So it seems to me that there are no issues. We should stop asking all these questions, wait for the EC to say whether they can do it or they cannot do it. And I've heard from other media, they say they are ready. They can meet the deadline. But every morning you wake up, the media is shouting over it. They have now become spokespersons of EC. More and more NDC people are still talking that there will be no use for... Are we not talking about our constitution? The Article 42, which talks about citizens of Ghana, is it not our constitution which says so? So why should you worry if somebody has not followed the constitution? And then the other one that I don't understand where it's coming from is this retroactivity. That what the Supreme Court has done amounts to a I thought many years ago, the Supreme Court made it clear that when it comes to constitutional interpretation, there is nothing like retroactivity. Either you are going according to our constitution or you have not done it according to the constitution. So once we find that you've not done it according to the constitution, we have every right to tell you that go back and deal with it. I explained here that to talk about validity or otherwise of an act or act of parliament is for the thing to have taken place already. It is only when the thing takes place that you now go and measure it against the constitution. And that is only when the Supreme Court will tell you, oh, this is consistent or this is inconsistent. So where is this retroactivity?
I think that's the confusion between the Supreme Court's powers to interpret and enforce the constitution with the duty or prohibition against Parliament to enact.
That is for Parliament.
Yes.
People don't seem to understand. That's why I'm saying that you are not making use of lawyers, you are making use of laymen who keep on saying that there's something called retroactivity and that what the Supreme Court is doing amounts to it. It is not true. It should always be retroactive. The act should take place first. When we went to court trying to stop the EC from coming out, creating new constituencies, and we asked for an injunction, the Supreme Court said, no way. What happens in Parliament is a closed book.
Right.
Let it happen. Then you come and complain that what they have done is inconsistent with the Constitution. Then we will make a declaration to that effect. If we make the interpretation and we think that it should be limited, then we will say that, look, although we have declared that all the acts that have taken place for a long while has not been correct, we are saying that let them be. You leave them there. But from now on, don't do it anymore. Or we just, was it the Salah or what? The one who went to court to
Attorney General
to talk about the position of the Chief Justice.
Right.
This issue of retroactivity came up. That the then sitting Chief Justice allowed himself to be taken to the vetting committee. So having gone to vetting and having lost, he has acquiesced in the process, and there's no way anybody can now say that he was deemed to have been appointed the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice, and all that. The Supreme Court said, no, acquiescences, retroactivity, and all these things, they don't apply when it comes to constitutional interpretation.
Very
so
well.
Why should we continue to do this kind of thing and create a lot of confusion for everybody? Supreme Court has said it. They should comply. Let's wait and see what happens on, is it 29th or
29th and then
if
the
the time
30th.
comes and they have a difficulty, they should tell the Supreme Court. Otherwise, this talk is just too much.
I'll be coming to you, Ms. Otoo, on an issue about the independence of the EC. But before that, I will bring in Mr. Poku and Dr. Jnapo. Your thoughts on
Well,
this?
you see, like my honorable have explained very well. I'm not a lawyer. He's a seasoned lawyer. He's explained it well. Everybody listening to this program, if you take your NDC year out, take your MPP year out, PPP year out, and listen to my senior, you know that there isn't a problem. What bothers me is the assault on the Supreme Court on social media and the airwaves coming from yesterday. Everybody who has not followed this process calls radio station, whether the script is written for them to recite it on air or they are just basically thinking that they are taking a cue for some of their leaders. And it's unfortunate that some political leaders in this country are now making it seem like the Supreme Court does not have powers to now determine. Some has gone as far to say that is a Supreme Court now going to conduct elections in this country? The Supreme Court did conduct election in this country because the president of the country hold his position by virtue of a Supreme Court ruling, and people easily forget.
Which one is that?
Our president now, he went to
Talking about the
Supreme
election
Court.
petition.
That was
petition.
not the case.
What was not the case?
He won the election.
No, but what I'm saying is that if
No,
the
he's
Supreme
talking
Court,
about,
what I'm
yes,
saying is
not
that, what I'm saying is that
necessarily
if the Supreme Court
being the
decided that
EC.
he was not president, he would have been president.
No, the Supreme Court was determining based on a
petition that had been
filed.
yes.
But what I'm saying is that if the Supreme Court, but what I'm saying
he
is
won because he was voted for.
No.
Yes. But what he's saying,
He was challenged.
He was challenged.
Let him come and then you can
said that he didn't win.
Yes.
Would you have gone ahead?
But if the Supreme
swear
Court,
he
I'm
did?
coming. If the Supreme, hold on. I'm giving a letter of appointment to work at TV3.
Yes.
Mr. Ayikoi Otoo thinks that the appointment given me is wrong.
Yes.
He takes me to court. The court says that the appointment given me is right. Is it the Supreme Court that gave me the job?
That is not what he said.
That is what happened. That is what
Wait, let him land. No. Let him land. Wait a minute.
No, what about the other side?
Wait a minute.
The Supreme
No.
Court said that he was not properly elected.
He was not properly elected.
That's what he said. No. Wait. Wait a minute.
The Supreme Court said
Dr. Jnapo.
if he was not properly elected.
Doc, wait a minute. Please land and then yes, he can
What
come
I'm
in.
saying, no, my brother. What I'm saying,
Don't say
if
that.
the Supreme Court had said that he was not
properly elected,
what would have happened?
What would have happened?
No, it would, because he was not properly
No,
elected.
what would have happened?
He would have hesited.
What exactly?
He would have exited.
So the mandate
Wait a
has-
minute.
No.
So the mandate he had that what
It's
come
coming from the
It
people.
came from the people.
That's it. Long and short. Wait a minute.
You cannot-
No.
you-
At that
I
point-
think
don't have a
yes.
problem if he says
Good.
that. But when you say that, no, have a problem.
It's fine.
The mandate
No.
of President Mahama is coming
From
from
the
the
people.
2012 elections.
That's it.
Simple as that.
No,
Yes,
it's
but-
true.
It's not the Supreme Court who gave him that power.
So, was he challenged?
Dr. Jnapo.
He was challenged.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
assuming the Supreme Court has said that he was not properly elected, what would have happened?
But if the assuming the
No,
Supreme
no,
Court
no.
says
Yes.
that he
Wait.
was properly elected,
Yes.
Wait a minute.
is it the Supreme Court that gave him the
Wait a
mandate?
minute. No.
Hold on. Oh, no.
Wait, I think. Wait a minute. Let me. Wait a minute. Please. Cool your tempers, please. Please cool your tempers, please. Wait.
We can.
So you appreciate Dr.
appreciate
Jnapo's
what he's
point.
saying.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
So that's it. The mandate is coming from the people.
No.
That's what he's. No,
The
but
issue is, he admits it. What happens if the Supreme Court had said he was
He
not
wasn't
properly
wrong,
elected?
yes.
Because the mandate
Would
was
he
wrong.
Then you would
would
have
he be
been-
sitting there?
Okay.
The
but
mandate
that's
was
what
wrong.
I'm
Only
trying to make.
give
So
you-
was it not the Supreme Court?
Right.
Who
That
put
affirmed.
finality to it?
180, yes.
It
But what I'm
affirmed.
trying to make is that it's also wrong, okay?
Now,
For
I mean,
leaders of
I
certain
I think
political
no.
parties.
You see,
the point I'm
Mr.
trying to
Otoo,
make-
I think the thing Dr. Jinapo's reservations with Mr. Poku's statement is the fact that he said that perhaps the Supreme Court conducted the elections.
No, they didn't conduct the elections.
Exactly.
No, so that's saying that. I'm not saying that.
So I think that
what I'm saying that people are saying that the point that people are making is that Supreme Court has no jurisdiction in the issue of election. Okay, and that is why they are saying that
that's
the Supreme
clearly
Court,
a wrong thing to
exactly,
say.
Because my point is that look, if it goes wrong, if it goes pear-shaped, where everybody runs to is the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
So Supreme Court the Supreme Court has every right, whether now or then. And that is why they are saying that, look, do you want to plunge this nation into chaos? Reason being that whoever wins the next election, okay, unless this NHIS thing is dealt with, we can hold the next election. Because the register we have is illegal if those lists exist. So the point they are making is that if we've said this over and over and over again, and you're not able to comply, and now, okay, let's take the bull by the horn by giving you direct instructions, and then people within certain political parties are cascading the Supreme Court for saying that are they now going to take over elections from the EC, which is clearly a misrepresentation because they are the very people that you run to if you have problem if your electoral process. The point I'm making is that.
But before you go on, let me. Yes, that's why I told Ms. Otoo I was going to get back to the issue about the independence of the EC, because I think that's where this whole issue about what people are saying is coming from. Clearly, in Abu Ramadan 2, the Supreme Court recognized the independence of the EC, no doubt about it, and actually said, we are not going to determine how you go about it. Go and do it. Is it a case then that perhaps with the EC not necessarily becoming clear as to how it's going, this has necessitated this kind of...
because they realize that they are dragging their feet. Look, a lot of people have made other arguments. I don't want to go into legality of it. My point is that political leaders should educate their followers, not necessarily come out and cascade and make pronouncement that brings the high office of Supreme Court into disrepute. That is my problem. My point is that if let's say I form a party called Kojo Poku Party, and I make a pronouncement, all my followers follow me by towing that line, and that's what's happening in this country. If you listen to the airwaves and social media, what everybody is towing is the line of their leader. Everybody is plugging in their NDC or MPP ears, and
that's how polarized and partisan we have become.
Thank you, but my point is that with this issue, it is very clear, and people should not now try to make Supreme Court seem like it is in an arena it does not belong, because it's the very arena that gives us, or that gave us this dispensation we are in. It is that arena that gave us this dispensation, and that is where my brother wants to disagree.
No, Doctor, I'll come to you, please.
Well,
when he finishes, yes.
Okay, Doctor, they gave us the arena.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Poku. Yes, Dr. Jinapo.
It's very
your
interesting.
concerns.
My concerns. Number one, I think it's a statement of fact, and it needs to be put on record that nobody should think that the current president was appointed president or he has his mandate as a result of the Supreme Court. It's not. The president is the president. The mandate being given to him to govern this country is as a result of what? The Constitution that says that the good people of this country should go to elections, vote for a candidate, and he was voted for. That is why he's what? He's the president. That said, it's important for me to raise this because of the context and where we are today. Today, where we are today, this whole thing about NHIS boils down to the document that gives us the opportunity to go and vote. The document. In fact, the Bible that says that A, B, C, D people are qualified to vote. So if that document has a problem and is tainted, and somebody thinks that it is not legitimate, and that person takes it to what the Supreme Court is just an arbiter. And the Supreme Court says that, look, these documents delete the names of these people. That is what needs to be done. There's no ambiguity about it. So for me, I think I agree with Honorable Ayikoi Otoo on the issue that, look, this whole debate about this NHIS and stuff like that is needless because it's straightforward. I think, number one, the Electoral Commission should want to have what? A peaceful, credible elections. Number two, the Supreme Court definitely also want to have what? A peaceful, credible elections. The same applies to what? The political parties. I mean, nobody wants to go and elect a leader who is not the true representation of what? The people. We just talked about UK and the EU. if the UK, the people on top could manipulate the system such that the vote cast was not the true reflection of what happened, where would have been now? So let me say that, in principle, I think that this whole issue about the NHIS card needs to be addressed and should be addressed long before. Because delete is very simple. You Google delete. Delete means what? Take it out. There's no ambiguity. No, there's no ambiguity about delete. Delete means what? Take it out.
Yes.
So what is the ambiguity and the interpretation?
Some said the word was never used.
Well, I don't know whether it was used or not. It says delete. If you read it, you will use several times. Let me. It says delete. Delete means that take it out. But you see, I think sometimes too, based on our utterances and the way this thing has dragged on, I think we have not been very fair to the people who use the NHIS card.
Well, hold your thoughts there. We'll take a break. When we come back, we address that issue. This is New Day Saturday edition. We'll be right back to continue the discussions.
This is what it feels like.
You have the power to reconnect old flames.
Francis Ampong, my first love. Oh. We used to dance all night long.
I know a place.
Then he went away to study law. I still think about him sometimes.
We have the network to make it possible.
I'll take you there. Hit me all. I'll take you there.
Amazing things happen when you move to a great network.
Boogaloo, baby.
Francis,
make that move. Ports to Vodafone. Enjoy an amazing experience. And if you aren't satisfied, you'll get your money back.
Vodafone, power to you.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill bacteria and provide protection against germs which can cause infection and illnesses? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus other antiseptic liquid. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
In the beginning was our legacy, value and beauty. This legacy was inherited by our first beauty queen, Amma from the Central region.
Alright, so Amma takes a final lap.
Then it moved on from one queen to another.
Ghana's most beautiful has been crowned. You are an incredible audience.
Ghana's most beautiful, season 9, ladies and gentlemen,
Now, the legacy is here to stay. Who has the confidence to take that challenge?
Join the audition training Kumasi Golden Bean Hotel in Shiaso from 25th to the 26th of June 2016 and in Accra from 28th to the 30th of June 2016 at TV3 premises. Download GMB audition forms from 3news.com. Post your photos on social media and hashtag GMB10. Ghana's Most Beautiful Season 10, only on TV3. Ghana's Most Beautiful, redefining beauty to promote national unity.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
This Sunday, Ghana's strongest Ubiado Scenic Resort, Kolegono. Come support your favorite athletes. Time 12 p.m. Only on TV3. Ghana's Strongest, the power to do. Ghana's Strongest is brought to you by 5-Star Energy Drink, Tabia Herbal Capsules, Darling Drink, Holy Trinity Spa, Dr. Mode.
Everything you need to know. Captivating. Reliable.
President Mahama, who addressed a Deborah of chiefs and people of
credible and breaking news. All at your fingertips.
Who's found Asamoah Gyan? Super finish!
Being on top of the news has never been easy. Visit us at www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips.
Welcome back. This is New Day Saturday edition, and just before the break we're looking at the Supreme Court's order to the EC to furnish the court with the list of persons who registered in 2012 to vote with the NHIS or NHIA cards. I'll be going back to Dr. Jinapor because I stopped him midway before the break. But before then, please take note, send your messages, texts, contributions to 0556 310 887. Again, 0556 310887. It will be displayed at the bottom of your screen. So please look out for them and keep your messages coming in. Mr. Jinapor.
Well, as I was saying, I think this whole Supreme Court case relative to the Electoral Commission regarding the voter register is very simple. Indeed, the Supreme Court gave 3 categories of people who should be what, whose names should be deleted. 1, NHIS card holders. 2, people who have passed on. 3, minors. And I find it quite interesting that of the 3, one that has received a lot of traction is the NHIS card holders. And I say that we've not been fair to them. We've not been fair to them in the first place because 1, if you remember the time that they were registering with those
Who
cards,
hasn't been fair to them?
The Ghanaian people. I mean, you listen to the commentary. The commentary is structured such that these people, most of them are not what, Ghanaians, or if not all of them, and probably they got their names in the register through crooked means, which is the use of what the voters, the NHIS card. And I'm saying that these people got their names with the voters, the NHIS card, at a time that it was not illegal. It was not illegal. And in fact, it will interest you to know that the use of the NHIS card was as a result of a law that was passed. You get what I'm saying? It was as a result of a law that was passed, and that law was laid in Parliament. And Parliament was supposed to scrutinize it. They gave the various categorizations of documents.
Doc, sorry to cut you. I need to make this announcement.
Sure.
Yes, that viewers, we had invited Mr. Chumesi Apia to represent the NDC. Mr. Chumesi Apia is a former MP for Sydney constituency. Unfortunately, he came in late, and so we couldn't allow him to be on the set. That's why we have 3 panelists instead of the usual 4. So that's what it is.
Yes, so as at that time, that it was, the document was presented, I don't know, it's called CI, I don't know what it is, CI 75. When it was presented, it stated clearly documents that you need to present to be qualified to what? To register.
But that's why their votes were not annulled.
No, I'm coming.
That was essentially what they used their
I'm getting there.
cards
I'm getting
to
there.
do to
I'm
vote.
getting there. So somebody probably at that time in Parliament did not think through that. Look, this NHIS card that is being used as a basis to register, anybody can get it. Anybody. And most of the people who probably got it are not Ghanaians. But you see, let me ask you this. You have a driver's license, don't you? You have a driver's license. When you went to get a driver's license, did you provide any proof of citizenship? Did you? Yes or no? I'd say it.
I don't remember.
All of us here.
No.
Nobody provided proof of citizenship. So if driver's license is used as a basis to register today, but NHIS card is not used, because anybody can get NHIS card, then I find it a little bit worrying.
Let me come in there, please. Let me come in there.
Yeah.
Perhaps, well, the thing is, if that issue is bordering somebody, perhaps a citizen of the country, and if they take this up with the Supreme Court, perhaps, yes, we could have a certain ruling coming from. So what do we do then? We have a ruling that we need to comply with as it is. And even that we have challenges.
No, but the ruling, I told you that in principle, it's not debatable. The Supreme Court has said that, look, delete the names of NHI card bearing members with the existing law. Delete simply means what? Take it out. And put new ones in. But we also have to address it within the holistic framework, in the sense that tomorrow we are going to have that same problem. You understand what I'm saying? And that is why I put the question to you. When you go to get a driver's license, do you produce proof of citizenship? You don't. You get what I'm saying? You don't. Again, there's this whole talk that, what do they call it, the issue, it's become a political issue and stuff like that. Yes, it's a political issue because we are talking of what? The document that will determine who becomes the president of this country. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think that, look, the case will go back to the Supreme Court on the 29th. The Supreme Court, knowing what the Supreme Court does, is not just an adjudicating body. It's also a policy-making body. The Supreme Court, in fact, make laws that shape where this country should go. I believe that if somebody registered wrongly, if that person was not entitled to register, that person's name should be taken out. You understand what I'm saying? But the question also needs to be asked. If I register with NHIS card at a point in time where it was legal, and today there's a grace period given that, look, your name is deleted, come and register. I'm not able to register. What happens?
That's why I was
my
asking
name is being deleted. My name is being deleted of no fault of mine.
Exactly. But then yes,
for them to
way back, a long time ago.
When they're giving the opportunity to
register,
that's what I'm saying.
They are given the chance to register.
Agreed.
Where is the argument?
If you are given the chance in 3 weeks, and for some reason 3 weeks I'm not around,
does it matter?
But you see, even with limited
registration, it's against the
with registration exercises, you can never have.
Abna, listen.
Right.
Lawyer. The first time that I registered with the NHIS card, that was what the law stated.
Yes.
It wasn't as if I knew I was supposed to register with a driver's license and
I
used an NHIS card to register.
Okay.
Yes.
Abina, didn't the Supreme Court recognize that fact?
It did.
Yes. And didn't they say that in order not to disenfranchise those people,
they should be
give them the opportunity? So what is the
argument?
And
I'm asking.
What is the argument?
The argument is this.
Please make your argument. Yes, Dr. Japo.
We've always called for continual registration.
Yes.
But yes.
Hold on.
Which goes on?
No, we've always called for continual registration in this country. Do we practice it?
Yes.
You can walk
so if that is the case, then where comes the issue of delete the person's name and give him a period of 3 weeks or whatever?
No period was given.
Now you are speaking.
No period was given.
Nobody said so.
Lawyer, always in this country, even recently, you remember the Electoral Commission? They said they are doing limited registration.
Yes.
You remember?
Let him land and then yes.
The argument that I'm trying to make is that, you see, this issue that we are having with this NHIS card is a particular issue today. But if we do not use this as an opportunity to address issues that may come up in future, we would have missed it. Why am I saying this? At the end of the day, we are saying that NHIS card is what is wrong. Why don't we allow them the names to be deleted? Give us the opportunity to what? To register in,
ad infinitum.
That is it.
That is what the law says.
You understand what I'm saying? Ad infinitum.
That is what the law says.
And even that, beyond that, have we as a people even sat there and said that? Look at the number of hours and time and energy that we use to discuss this issue. Can we seize this opportunity to say that, look, why don't we come up with a structured form of identification in this country?
Oh, we know that.
Why don't we seize this opportunity to try and deal with this issue once and for all? If we had a form or a means of identification.
National ID card. We all know.
That is it.
Know.
You understand?
Please.
But nothing is being said about it. All what people.
Mr. Otoo, yes. Let him land and then
But you see, there's another interesting dimension. The interesting dimension about
this. Are you moving on a different?
No, on this whole
issue.
On this whole issue, you come in. This NHIS card. The Supreme Court says that look, Electoral Commission, go and compile the lists of people who use, what do they call it, NHIS card to what? To register. Bring it to us on the 29th. On the 30th, we make a ruling. The Electoral Commission is saying that yes, we have the data, we are going to bring it. On the whole issue of this commentary, interestingly and quite ironically, some people are saying that look, the Electoral Commission cannot produce it. You understand what I'm saying? Even if the Electoral Commission produces it, it's going to be what? Bogus.
Is that coming from the EC themselves or some other people?
No, some group of people.
Well, I mean,
in the
but
it's in the
at this
media.
point, it should be coming from the EC.
No, the EC is saying that they will produce the what? The list. They say they have the list, and before then, if you remember, during the whole case, the Supreme Court asked them, "Do you have the list?" They said yes. Where do you have it? We have it on form, whatever it is. Okay, now if you have it, go and bring the list. Let us look at it, and we'll take a decision. Some people think that the EC doesn't have it. They think that even if the EC have it, they are going to bring what? A bogus, fictitious what? Lists.
But you see,
I find it quite interesting and worrying.
Please allow me to
quite interesting.
This is exactly the point I made, that when the orders are made towards the EC, let them rather tell us their difficulty, and not for any, look at the way the arguments are going. Most of the time, it's the NDC apologists who start talking for the EC. This idea that they will go and bring some bogus thing, where is it coming from?
Let me show it to you.
I understand. I understand. I'm saying that EC hasn't said that. I've listened to other media houses, the PRO has been called, he said that, look, we can meet it, no problem. Yet, the argument
apparently, Mr. Otoo, that comment apparently is coming from the Let My Vote Count.
Yeah, Let My Vote Count. That's not an NDC group.
There's likely to be a
these are the issues. I say, let the EC people themselves tell us their difficulty, and we should put a stop to all this. Now, as I said, I wanted to react to this idea of as if they are being disenfranchised. The Supreme Court saw that and said, look, because there was a law which permitted them to register with the NHIS cards, please do not say that it did anything wrongful in law. They acted properly, so give them the opportunity so they will not be disenfranchised. If we have listened to that aspect of the law, look, was it not in 2013 or so that they went to court for the first time?
2014.
Or
2014, yes.
What have we been waiting for up till now? We now have Abu Ramadan 3. Now, the issue of independence, that's why I told you I was looking.
Right.
Look, Article 295 of the Constitution, Clause 8, provides as follows. No provision of this Constitution or of any other law to the effect that a person or authority shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority in the performance of any functions under this Constitution or that law shall preclude a court from exercising jurisdiction in relation to any question whether that person or authority has performed those functions in accordance with this Constitution or the law. That so-called independence is independent so long as you are within the law or the Constitution. So if somebody should go and say that what you are doing is against or is inconsistent with your own law or the Constitution, the Supreme Court has power to investigate that one, or any other court has power to investigate. So it is not like nobody can go and tell them what they should do and what they didn't do. The Supreme Court, in fact, said so and referred to this article when they were dealing with the Abu Ramadan 2. And told them that in spite of your independence, this one is there which can let us tell you what you ought to do. So I'm saying that it is the too many arguments and discussions that we have immediately after a Supreme Court decision, which rather lands us into difficulty because we are not even talking to the right people. Let those who understand the nitty-gritty of these things talk. And you would now understand why. Look, you see, there should be a time limitation for registration, whether you like it or not, because there's something called voter exhibition. If we don't stop it, then where are we going to exhibit the register? So somewhere along the line, there should be a cutoff. And then we tell you that we are now going to exhibit the register from now on. If you find anything wrong with that register, tell us. Draw our attention. We'll make the necessary. But the continuous, registration is there. Like my brother said, it's for mass registration to enable the political parties to organize their people and move them there to go and register. That is why they say, okay, within these 3 weeks, we are going to do ABCD. It's got nothing to do with the right of it, because the Supreme Court has declared that either in a Palo or something or Tenadi, somebody who said was not available at the time the thing was open, and that he had come and they are telling them this closed, the Supreme Court said, no, go ahead and do it. It's a continuous. So some of these issues are really no issues, but we keep on talking to the wrong people. That is my take on this.
Very well. But really, after 6 elections, should we be faced with these kinds of challenges with the voters register?
We can never have a perfect register.
Definitely not.
That's why a perfect election.
Reasonable.
But if you look at where we've come from since '92, okay, at every point in time, and I'm trying to answer something that my brother said earlier. He's mentioned the driving license issue. He mentioned, look, at every point in time, we are striving for perfection. Okay, today is national health insurance. Tomorrow it could be driving license. To me, one of the things that I want to say is that those that were entrusted with the national identification card should be investigated, prosecuted, and jailed.
Why?
Because they squandered our money. They did not do a good job.
Or you are meaning
the National Identification Authority.
Okay, not the holders of the card.
No.
Okay,
The
that's
National
a different,
Identification.
that's a different
What I'm saying, the National Identification Authority. Those that were entrusted with the National Identification Authority, what did they do? Really and truly, all the monies that were spent, that edifice they call an office that they built.
Okay, so we're moving into.
I'm trying to say something. What he said earlier about, can't we have something that solved this problem?
Right, which is the national identification system.
Card. That's what I'm saying, that for that purpose, there was an effort to have a card that will enable everybody to have an identity, that all these matters will not have arisen. They took the opportunity, took the money, and squandered it.
No, but that was still under the NHIA.
Yes,
wasn't it?
the National Identification
Authority. National Identification.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Totally.
No. I'm trying to say that he mentioned that couldn't we have had? But I'm saying it was a missed opportunity when a group of individuals were trusted with a scheme like the National Education Authority and squandered the opportunity that we could have had. And today, all this problem of driving license, and my brother makes a very perfect point. Nobody shows an ID of nationality when you are getting a driving license. So it's a valid point. The point I'm trying to get across is that today we can never have a perfect register, but we strive for perfection. So today, when they say let's take out these people, let's do our best to take it out. We sat here, I think about a month ago, and then discussed this issue, and I was wondering that for a lawyer, EC chairman who's a lawyer, and understand some of these things, why do we have this back and forth and sometimes a perturbed attitude of, oh, it is not meant for us, then somebody has to go back and what my friend lawyers are calling Q from the bench. Dusty Doche came out and also made a submission that, look, this is what it is. Still nothing happened. If we don't resolve this national health insurance, it's Armageddon. Because we can hold 7th December election.
But the question, Dr. Jacob,
let me state this. You see, you asked my brother an important question. Why are we here as of now? Why is it that this whole
given that we've had so many elections,
and he makes an excellent point that, look, we cannot have a perfect election, neither can we have a perfect register. It always has to be in progression, and I agree with him. And I think that statement being made by him is evidence in where we've come from as a country. Yes. We started from 1992 up to 2012. And you remember in 2012, I said we had the best opportunity and we really demonstrated it. Biometric registration, biometric verification. Your biometric data is captured. But today, this is where we are. You see, this whole NHIS thing is both legal and political. You understand? I said it's both what? Legal and political. And I say legal in the sense that, yes, somebody went to court, he looked at the law and said, anybody can get an NHIS card. I think that used as a basis of citizenship is flawed. He goes to court. The court looks
and it's
at
inconsistent
it,
with the Constitution.
It's inconsistent with the Constitution. They will give him that. I sit here and I say that, look, using the driver's license as a basis for showing of citizenship in itself has a lot of challenges. Because I can say for a fact, and on this table, using this as a microcosm of the country, all of us have driver's licenses. We never showed any evidence of citizenship. I'm not going to court. I'm not going to court. But you see, I say it's political because if you listen to the posture of the NPP as a political party, from post the elections, the NPP believes that something fundamentally went wrong in the 2012 elections. Today, as we speak, the NPP still believes that, look, they do not lose 2012 elections. That's what they believe in. They went to court by showing evidence that, look, this election, we won it. And in fact, this whole NHIS card didn't start just like that. It started with the revelations of Dr. Bawumia, if you remember. As a matter of fact, the initial call was that the voters' register should be redone. And that was why I was making reference to some people saying that, look, what the Electoral Commission is going to send is bogus. The MPP's agenda is not about the NHIS card. And I think, look, if they have the evidence, I'm coming. They believe that the voters' register is bloated.
Which is something they have said, and it's not disputed. But that is not a disputed fact at all.
That's not a disputed fact. What they are saying is that it's bloated to their disadvantage. And listen, it's bloated to their disadvantage. And they think that register in itself, I mean, voters' registers are bloated. And you made the argument that, look, we cannot have a perfect register. Yes. But when some people think that, look, it is so bad.
But you see, Dr. Janapo, I think we've moved beyond that NPP situation to a position where we have a judgment or a ruling that we need to comply with.
That is where I'm going to. And that is why I said that I find it a little bit worrying today that when the Electoral Commission is being called, and it's important to also state that I find it also repugnant when people try to chastise and bastardize the Supreme Court. I think it's you can't do that.
It's dangerous.
It's outrageous. But I find it a little bit worrying when even before the Electoral Commission submits its lists to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court to make a judgment of it, you start saying that they are going to submit a fictitious and bogus register.
But that's what eventually that will be for the Supreme Court to determine.
No, that's why I said it's legal and political. The Supreme Court will do their work, but the political and social consequences is also very important. We are discussing it here. You understand what I'm saying? So I think at the end of the day, look, I believe the Supreme Court is doing this for the good of the country. Definitely. And as I said, the Supreme Court, apart from being an educating body, is also a policy making body. At the end of the day, whatever ruling the Supreme Court gives, we as a people have no option than to abide by it.
Very well. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be delving more into this issue. We'll be reading out your messages as well. So keep watching. We'll be right back.
Many of them make give us P power capsules. So when I'm here, we are now sorry, I'm no pana. I was say Abua. And only do our Benomino. Memma menina to me no. And one memma, that's I see you, Bano. I may need Tiabefi.
Give us 4 capsules, soon as see that one. Nay, I hear you how to do. And so Simuya. Yeah, Coco, and that's a good year. Now I saw the Coco and look at a river. And let me have one Coco so dear. And I am Tim Suway. I am here, Dr. Farmer, who say, I am about to have 3 years. I am Tim was Minamina. I give us 4 capsules. So the very near my way here, and I defend in Nano, and I am moving in Nano. And let me up one less and open. You want to have a Tonga. Over Tessie Mobile. Yeah, then guess me. And over to your friend numbers here, and that TV swap. Now let it swap.
Onuya Kayo, give us 4 capsules, and it give us P capsules. Or Bawa from them. The woman one for them. Aquada one in fear do me no on.
Oh yes, it's back
back again. We gonna party. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, in collaboration with the Ghana Society UK, presents the 3rd edition of Ghana Carnival from 1st to 3rd July 2016 under the theme My Culture Rocks. Participants from Colombia, South Africa, Nigeria, Seychelles and many other countries will storm the city. Starting Friday 1st July, Carnival Parade will begin from Manche Agbona, Jamestown to the Independence Square by 12 noon. Then on Saturday 2nd and Sunday 3rd July will be a beach jam at the La Pleasure Beach. There'll be lots of fun, food bazaar, talent hunt, pick and act, poetry performances, exhibition and sales of Ghana goods. Come and join the celebration of the rich and diverse culture of Ghana. For participation, call 0266 44 7845 or 0244 286640. My culture rocks. It's the Connect FM Lunch Concert. Make a date with us on the 1st of July 2016. Venue Jubilee Park. Time 7 p.m. till you drop. Artist Kofi Kinata. Catch Narrow X. Wow, Cassie. Me pop it off. Me pop it off. Jack Alala and many more. It's the Connect FM Lunch Concert. Connect 97.1 FM. Yenye wanam.
Adamani na dona menye. Oyanya me na waya. Kana fuwanka.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
This Sunday, Ghana's strongest Ubiado Scenic Resort, Kolegono. Come support your favorite athletes. Time 12 p.m. Only on TV3. Ghana's Strongest, the power to do. Ghana's Strongest is brought to you by Dr. Malt, Holy Trinity Spa, Darling Drink, Tabia Herbal Capsules, 5-star energy drink.
On 25th of June.
Remember rule number 1, you're responsible for your house guests.
Join in all the action. Denzel Washington, Ryan Reynolds in Safe House.
I want you to take me in.
Saturday, 8 p.m. on our blockbuster movie.
The 2016 elections covered like never before. Online, on air, and on mobile.
This month on TV.
Say hello to your father.
To Mr. Juan Jaime. He grew up in a hostile world, filled with rejection and secrets.
If I were you, I wouldn't tell that girl that Teodoro bequeathed something to her.
You're the new maid, son, am I right?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
He thought he had found love, but destiny had a different plan for his life.
Lucia's watching us.
Now the message just for you.
I will make sure that you rot in jail. You'll die there because that's where you belong.
The Power of Destiny. Premiering the 27th of June at 5 p.m. Only on TV3.
Welcome back. This is New Day Saturday edition, and we are continuing discussions on the Supreme Court's order to the EC to furnish the court with the list of persons who registered in 2012 to vote with the National Health Insurance cards. I have some messages in here, but before I read them, let me once again state that Mr. Chumesi Apia, former MP for Sini constituency who was invited to represent the NDC, was not able to join us because he came in late. And let me state that it is a policy of the network that when guests arrive after a certain time, they will not be allowed to go on. And Dr. Jinapo here would attest to that. It's happened to him once or twice, and since then, he's been on time. So that's the message. So well, that's a message out there. It's not, we had in mind to keep the panel balanced, but this is where we are.
It's quite balanced.
It is, seriously, it is.
The only politician here is Honorable Ayikoi.
Very well. So let me get on to...
He brings a balanced discussion.
That's true. We're looking at the objective side. So, well, the messages coming in, we'll be looking at the EU issue. This one, it says, the opt-out of the UK from European Union is all about protecting their purse and redirecting these to their hard-working citizens. It will affect their common borders, i.e. immigration. It's all about social and economic entitlements when they come to the UK. This is IB. Now, we thank God the Supreme Court has resurfaced again to address confusion in our voters' register. The EC, chaired by Mrs. Osei, should desist from compromising her integrity to retain the NDC in government at all costs. However, her plans will fall flat because Ghanaians are clamoring for a change in their life. This is Seth in Hohoi. Good morning, Abna. Biggest problem in this Supreme Court issue is by the NDC people. The NDC is finding means and ways to rig this election, but inshallah they cannot. And this is Aliu in Upper West region. Mensa Thompson is saying, Abna, the UK's exit from the EU has its own merits and demerits for the people of the UK, but permit to reiterate that most of the reasons why people voted to leave the EU were UK government problems, not problems caused by the EU. But I sent a breakdown of the United Kingdom here on. Well, we'll wait to see what happens. The order of the Supreme Court is victory for our democracy. The 2012 voters register for me is incurably flawed. This is Simon in Wali Wali. Michael Aminin from the UK saying, congratulations to the Supreme Court for bringing to order the defiant attitude of Madam Charlotte Osei, because all her actions and inactions after assuming office shows clearly that she is doing the bidding of President Mahama, but not working in the interest of the whole country. Good morning, Abna. What David Cameron did was a political suicide. Nobody asked him to call a referendum. He just wanted to call the bluff of the far-right parties. This is Kweku in La Paz. AU Farouk in Tamale saying, good morning to you, Abna, and to your panel. To me, what I appreciated in the Brexit from the EU is the bold decision taken by the Prime Minister to step down as a Prime Minister for only respecting the voice of the people, which African leaders cannot do. I'll take this last one and then we go back to the discussions. I'm really sure the main opposition party is listening to wisdom this morning. They should please make use of the airwaves to propagate their message than using it to promote unnecessary issues like the President's gift and Supreme Court ruling. This is Ablekuma. This is from Alaji Halidu Haruna in Ablekuma Central. I'll hold on for now. We'll do some few deliberations and then we'll go back to the messages. Please keep them coming in. Okay, Mr. Kujopuku, I'll be starting from you now. Still on the Supreme Court, you were talking about the fact that you cannot understand why we still don't have a national identification system that would pretty much deal with these issues about that. And Dr. Jinapo had raised earlier on something to the effect that perhaps this whole discussion about the NHIS thing is perhaps much ado about nothing, because we still have certain loopholes in the system that could be utilized or taken advantage of. If you look at CI 91, it makes provision as one of the things that could allow a person to register, aside the passport, driver's license, national ID card, is the fact that you could have two guarantors actually guarantee that yes, you are eligible or you are qualified. That is also an issue people have raised, that if all it takes is for two people to come and say this, then really
those two people, do they have to prove citizenship?
They should have been registered.
So if they have two people registered, then you can have those two registered people to vouch, and I think one person can vouch for up to, I think, 5 people or something like that.
Wow.
Exactly, you can't do more than 5.
More than 5. So this is the trick. 2 people registers, and then they vouch for 10 people. then those 10 people
can also
vouch for a multiple of 50 people.
And what happens if those people registered with the NHI?
No,
so they don't even come in then?
My point is that I don't think it's a combination. It's either or. So if you don't have any ID and you live in a community and 2 people within the community who are registered can vouch for you, then you can register that you're a Ghanaian, then you can register. That is the biggest flaw. Even the driving license is not even come close. Because all it takes, because you see, most of the areas where we have these problems, where political parties take advantage, it's not in areas where they are not popular. It's in their strongholds. Okay? Places where they are very comfortable, they have everybody in the so-called polling station or registration center or whatever with them, so they can do whatever they want. Our electoral roll can never be perfect. Our electoral roll will not be perfect for 2016 election. But we have to, like I said earlier, strive for perfection going forward. The National Identification Card is the only thing that can help us, because you see, it now affords you to now do a birth certificate. It allows you to now be able to prove residency. Because what happened earlier, I think 5 or 8 years ago, 9 years ago, when they were going around house to house, they will come to your house and take your details and then register you and stuff like that. Then there's a proof of, what you may call it, there's a proof of residency. Look, the United States of America, not far ago, had a similar problem before 9/11. And I'll tell you why. When you go to Virginia, and you wanted to get a driving license in the past, this is what you do. If in the US, even to buy liquor or go to the nightclub, you need an ID.
Sure.
So you need to carry your passport. If you don't want to be carrying your passport around, you get what is called a state ID. The state ID, you take your passport to the DMV and you show your passport, and based on your passport, they will give you what is called a state ID. You take the state ID so that you can keep your passport at home, and when you're going to the liquor shop or places where you need an ID, you can show the ID. Now, the law in Virginia before 9/11, and this is where the 9/11 pilots who did the crime got their driving license. What you needed to get a driving license, okay? No, what you need to get a provisional driving license is two IDs. A state ID classified for one ID, and your passport classifies a second ID.
You need a social security number.
No, you don't.
I know very
well. No, my brother, I know
this
for a fact.
I live in the US for 7 years.
No, my brother, before 9/11, let's not go there. I'm telling you from experience what I know. When you go to Virginia, before 9/11, you didn't need a social security number to
that's
get...
the state.
Okay, yes, the state of
Virginia.
State of Virginia.
Okay.
You didn't need a driving license. You didn't need a social security number to get a driving license. I'm getting to a driving license. So if you take your state ID and your passport to the DMV again, okay, you can take the test and get a provisional driver's license. But you have to take the computer test. If you pass that one, then you get a provisional driver's license. Then after 3 months, if you do the driving test, then you change that provisional driver's license to a proper driver's license. Today, after 9/11, you need to have a 10-point system. You need to have a residential proof of residence, that I have lived here and I have bills going through that address before you can get a driver's license.
So, if what you're saying is that
what I'm saying is that before even the United States of America, post 9/11, there was lax in their system in ways of you getting ID when you just enter the country. And
before 9/11.
But now, because of 9/11,
stricter
they are now
measures,
stricter.
right.
So Ghana is an action in progress. We will get there. But I think the strive for perfection that I talk of is something that it can only be gotten if we now get the national identification done.
Very well. Mr. Otoo, do you think, given the time frame we have to elections, now we don't even know if it's November 7th or we're going back to the constitutionally provided December 7th, are we likely to get through this whole business about cleaning up the voters register?
As I said, the Supreme Court has made a decision giving clear directions as to what they expect the EC to do. If the EC has any difficulties, for the EC to go back and seek further clarification and explain to the Supreme Court why they think perhaps they cannot do it. But strictly, if we are going by our constitution, then because those who registered with the NHIS cards did something which is inconsistent with Article 42, the Constitution, the Supreme Court that has the final say in interpreting the Constitution, cannot look on and allow those names to remain. So they ought to be dealt with. And the EC must have itself to blame for having delayed since 2014, making these forth and back arguments over whether or not the word NHIS was used or not, instead of making just the necessary inference, drawing the necessary logical inferences from the judgment, and go ahead to comply. But once they have given us the assurance that they can do it, let's just wait and see. To me, I don't think that anything is impossible. Like Mandela said, it is impossible until it is done. You may think that it is impossible, but when it is done, then you say, oh, so it is possible. So let's just
5 months away from elections, the clock is ticking.
We can still do it if we intend to do it. When the will is there, it can be done. They should just put their act together, quickly bring out whatever names they want. But what pains me sometimes is the impression being created that, like the MPP thinks that without this thing, we can't win the election or anything. No, it is more to do with the Constitution. We are only adhering to trying to be compliant with the Constitution. If at the end of the day, they even bring us a fake, I don't think it should have any serious impact on us. I don't speak tree, but if you think it's okay for you, continue. But seeing the way we are going, we should be able to take informed choices and come to the right conclusion. They shouldn't say that without this thing, nothing will happen. Look, when we won elections, I think there was this issue whether students in school who had come back, after vacation could be permitted to go back and vote wherever they were or something. Somebody said, no. We still said, let's go on. We won. So we shouldn't. Don't make that, argument that we are frantic, we want to, and it can lead to some bad blood between the holders of NHIS cards and the party.
Right.
As if we are bent on disenfranchising them. No! We are only talking Constitution. Please let them understand that we are talking Constitution. We are not the Supreme Court. Right. It is the orders we which carried out or implemented are those of the Supreme Court. It should not be an MPP matter.
Right.
Shouldn't be.
True. Very well. I'll take some comments here, but Dr. Jaffa, do you have anything to say lastly so we wrap up and then?
If you want to take your comments,
okay,
so you want me to speak?
No, you speak. I'll finish with this.
I agree with a lawyer that at the end of the day, the most important thing that needs to be done is the law. And not just the law. For me, I'm interested in seeing a credible election, and I think the person being chosen should be the choice of the people. But I find it quite interesting that in all of these issues, 3 categories of people were named to be deleted. In fact, one of them that I think even was a criminal thing to do, minors registry, that is not being given attention. Why is it the case? You understand what I'm saying? Minors. If somebody is not qualified to register and the person registers, it's a criminal offense. You understand what I'm saying? And that person registered knowingly that, look, what I was doing was wrong. In the case of the NHIS people, they registered knowing that what they were doing. As a matter of fact, if I happen to have gone to register, I have a driver's license, I have a passport, I have an NHIS card, and the NHIS card is, in terms of proximity, that one is the one that is readily available. I register with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
You don't like taking out your passport.
That is it. You don't want going out with your passport. Yeah. But when somebody is a minor and he goes to register, it means that person intentionally and purposely goes to commit a crime. And I would have thought that. Yeah, I would have thought that. that should have been given much focus. But you see, at the end of the day, as I said, this whole thing for me,
it's more political.
It's not more political. It's political and legal. I think this issue needs to be trashed out once and for all. And I must say, I commend the Supreme Court with the speed with which it is trying to deal with this issue because
and so that it's going to sit on the 30th, which is a Martyrs' Day.
No. You should just clear it off.
But let me take some comments here.
If I might just
briefly, and then I bring in the viewers listeners.
If a minor registers, does he register with his real age or he register as above 18?
Oh no, he can't register with his real age because
so how do you tell he's a minor? How do you tell he's a minor?
Oh no, people will know.
A minor is a minor.
It's a fact.
A minor is a minor. The Supreme Court in its ruling said, look, 3 groups of people. 1, those who register with NHIS card. 2, minors. 3, dead people. Delete their names. And it was emphatic. You know what is interesting is that it said give those who register with NHIS card the opportunity.
Exactly.
It didn't say give the minors the opportunity. Lawyer, didn't say give the minors the opportunity.
This is where they started the confusion because they never used NHIS. Because they never mentioned NHIS. Somebody said, "Oh, they didn't."
No, I mean that one is not even. It's not
very well. Please let me.
The interest for the NHIS
was so clear.
It's not debatable.
Well,
I don't think it's debatable. It says that delete the names of 3 categories of people: NHIS, minors, and dead people.
No, actually, it didn't say so.
It did, okay.
What the judgment said was that the EC should delete or clean the register as it's used in modern times, making sure that all those whose names are on the register are there because the Constitution permits them to be there. Okay. So when you do the inference, what is says?
So it didn't mention the
no.
Everybody
that's why it dates back to makes reference to Abu Ramadan.
Exactly.
Well, so let's see what happens.
Anybody who is dead, anybody who is an alien, you can draw those to say that they are not qualified in terms of Article 42, and therefore they should go. That is where the problem started when people said the magical words National Health Insurance ID card was not used. But can't you draw the inference that they are not in conformity with Article 42?
Let's see how it turns out on the 30th of June. Well, we're moving on to... Yes, okay, let me take some comments first and then we'll go for a break. When we come back, we continue discussions. This is saying, Asante, this is Augustine Akalifa from Asante Akemaku. He says, whether deleting NHIS or whatever, that will not change anything. Ghanaians still enjoy the peace and happiness under the NDC government. Oliver Jan from Pokwasi says, Apna, good morning. This EC is too stubborn. They could have avoided all this embarrassment. The Supreme Court has spoken the 3rd time. They should do the right thing. Kokua, this person is making reference to Kokua Idohu's statement that the Supreme Court should not be allowed to or does not run elections. It says so surprising because when the Supreme Court declared the NDC victors in the election petition, they hailed them. Alaji Hamza in Pig Farm is saying it is time the NPP be told to their faces to stop the unnecessary attacks on the personality of Madame Charlotte Osei. The EC is made up of is a 7-member body and not one person. But let me tell the NPP to stop spending the little resources they have towards the 2016 elections because the elections 2016 has already been won by President Mahama. The good works of President Mahama are all over for us to see. Alukus and Tamale is saying, in my opinion, the promises that are making the rounds within the body politics of this nation is necessary. At least it gives the citizenry an insight into how the manifesto of the various political parties shall look like. So this person is preempting our discussions on the NPP's promise of one factory in one district. Let me take this other one. Tony Nunu and Shama says, I think it's about time that the Supreme Court said EC delete the NHIS card holders, period. Why is it that the NDC is so worried? Because they registered with NHIS cards. Are they going? They are going to be removed from the register. Are they trying to tell us that those people are NDC members? This is from Eja. I didn't get that name. Sorry. What happens to those who got registered even without ID cards or guarantors? Is there any proof of their citizenship? I wonder how that could happen if you don't have any identification, neither are you guaranteed by guarantors. How then are you able to register?
There must be guarantors.
No, see,
so
the point is, I think sometimes this registration and stuff like that, it depends on the locality.
That's what I said.
Even the law says this is but when I mean, I have a daughter who everybody knows grew up, she's my daughter and she's coming to register. They know now she's what? Secondary school, she's about 18 and she's going to somebody may not challenge it. Do you understand? So I think it depends on the
locality
and the place. It's not as rigid as it is.
Okay. Let me carry on with some more messages. The intentional tactical deviation strategy being employed by some media houses and media practitioners to sway our attention from the good works of President John Dramani Mahama wouldn't wash or fly. The latest one being the gift or bribe from a Burkinabe contractor who went through the process to duly win a contract to do some jobs on the property of the Ghana Embassy or mission in Burkina Faso. Well, we'll be discussing that, so it's not like we are trying to sway attention or anything, but we are discussing the issues because it's relevant to our national agenda and our development as a nation. I will have to vote against NPP if I suffer yet another time to register. This is from Zach in UDS. Okay, let's take a break now. When we come back, we begin talking about the Ford expedition and involving, that issue involving the president and the Ford expedition and Mr. Kanazoe. We'll take a break. We'll be back shortly.
So when you say, and one kitty boy in film one who you say virus. I didn't think I was one and na yen reho. And tefret to me tonight yen potem baby and tefret to me my yare pea. What they want to so no one hunka, my yare fire dian. One my yare to say typhoid, any dysentery. Once answer my yare to say cholera, any yaws. And turn to my yare to say malaria, any yellow fever. 40 seconds be malaria kuma bofraba. Malaria hun sembesa ahasa kosi empima hanu na esisi afibia yasi afanenina. Yen mom na esisi enije na on di areho. Saso kum tonton preko.
Think easy. Easy cocktail. Easy red mix. Easy apple. Proudly produced by Trillium Industrial Company Limited in Ghana. Suitable for all occasions. Very affordable. Think easy.
We are on a mission this electioneering year. The marginalized, women and rural folks in focus. A mission to separate facts from propaganda. A mission for peace. This is Mission TV. Brought to you by Star Ghana.
Imagine a world devoid of amusement. There would be no existence. Life is good and we must live it.
And I have been in front of a lot of crowds, but I've never seen anything like the excitement here tonight.
Catch all the action and drama. Talk about people and places. See the world at a glance.
This is Ayikoi Otoo. We're getting ready for the Ghana Music Awards. I'm so excited about it.
Tune in each time for your weekly dose of quality entertainment as we surf around the globe to explore cultures and traditions, music, fashion, innovations, and creativity.
Turn down for what?
Get ready to experience the unimaginable.
Turn down for what?
Just box.
Only on TV3.
Demonstrated against the Electoral Commission.
What do you think the Ghanaian should let go of?
Over 1,000 candidates vying for 275 seats from 10 regions. Who goes to parliament? Who would you vote for and why?
We're going from zero to victory!
Constituency Link, knowing your constituency. This is your election command center.
This month on TV.
Say hello to your father.
To Mr. Juan Hyman.
He grew up in a hostile world, filled with rejection and secrets.
If I were you, I wouldn't tell that girl that Teodoro bequeathed something to her.
You're the new maid, son, am I right?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
He thought he had found love, But destiny had a different plan for his life.
Lucia's watching us.
Now the message just for you.
I will make sure that you rot in jail.
Stop it.
You'll die there because
Stop,
that's where you
please.
belong.
The Power of Destiny, premiering the 27th of June at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
So the secrets of success: honesty, modesty, and lots of hard work. My name is Nuhat Kalmoni. I'm the CEO of Silverstar Auto Limited. We are the distributors for Mercedes-Benz and Suzuki in Ghana. To know more about me, you can watch Business Focus on Monday at 6 p.m.
Welcome back. This is New Day Saturday edition, and we are moving on to our third subject or topic for the day. We're looking at a choice between a Ford, and that's an American car, and Toyota by a Japanese company. Well, that's what has come out of the saga involving the Burkinabe contractor and His Excellency, the President, Mr. John Dramani Mahama. We started this conversation last week where we're looking at the alleged conflict of interest issue. This week, the President responded to these allegations and said that, well, people making these allegations should resort to the constitutional provisions for such matters to be taken up. And in that statement, he, of course, made reference to the fact that his choice is not American cars, but Japanese cars. So we are here looking at this issue. Mr. Otoo, your take on this issue?
We got to situate it within a certain background. First, we all know about the constitutional provisions dealing with conflict of interest. We've also heard about the president's own code of conduct and etiquette rules that he did for his ministers. We've also heard of the code of conduct and etiquette rules for public officers developed by the Shuraj. There's also the Criminal and Other Offences Act, particularly Section 244, which we can look at. And then we situate it within the facts that we have. Do we accept that Kanazue is a contractor in Burkina Faso, that he wanted to do work in Ghana, he wanted to land some contracts in Ghana, he didn't know how? Then somebody introduced him to the then vice president. These facts have never been denied. Having been introduced, he now begins to bid. Whether fair or foul, he bids and he wins. And then he goes for the first time to construct a fence wall over a piece of land which we are told is just about the football size pitch, a pitch football size. Not any big area. And then he charges the government of Ghana $650,000 US. Mind-blowing. Then we hear the president's communicator, the chief communicator, Dr. Omani Boama, saying that it was not only a fence wall, but it also included a sentry post. So that alone should cost us $650,000. If you look at the cost involved, it's so mind-blowing that somebody would begin to ask yourself, was this thing really done with value for money at the back of anybody's mind when they were awarding $650,000 contract for a fence wall? Then, thereafter, they become friends. He's now friends with the vice president, who later becomes president. The man loses either his mother or father or somebody. The vice president sends a delegation to go and commensurate. Thereafter, he decides that, look, I'm going to give this gentleman a Ford Expedition costing $100,000 US. According to the ethics that he himself, the rules of conduct that is made for his ministers, nobody should accept a gift more than $50, worth more than $50. So if you accept $100,000, you are going against your own rules. And if we are going by, evidence by, leadership by example, then you should be the first to show that, leadership. Again,
but Mr. Sorry to cut you, but the gift was given before Mr. President became president, and then subsequently he put out this code of conduct for his appointees. So
it doesn't matter. The code of ethics have always been there because the Constitution...
And in any case, the code of conduct is applicable to his ministers and appointees, not him.
By issue set an example. If your people cannot accept anything worth more than $50, how can you accept $100,000? It's leadership by example. But the Constitution was there before he became a vice president. He was elected based upon the Constitution and the conflict of interest rules, not, placing yourself in a situation where your interests will conflict with other, your duties, and they are well captured there. So he knows that well. But moving on, so now the person decides to come and give you a gift at the time you were president. Because from the correspondence we had, the gift was first given to the then Upper West or something minister, who takes it and then passes it through until it arrives in Accra. So at the time he collected it, he was a president. Now, why was it secret? Why? Very simple question. Why? When somebody decided to give a bulletproof vehicle to President Kufuor, it was all over the place. We all heard. It even said that saved his life when he was involved in an accident. So why did this thing take place between 2010, 2012 or so? It is only now that it's coming up. Again, you find that there was no disagreement as to whether or not the president accepted the gift and even thanked the guy. He accepted it. What the communication minister is telling us that having accepted it, he did not use it as his personal property, but rather decided to put it in a pool. So there are substance, there is no argument about that. That now will lead us to looking at Section 244 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. If after a person has done any act as a public officer, juror, or voter, he secretly accepts or agrees or offers secretly to accept for himself or for any other person any valuable consideration account of such act, he shall be presumed until the contrary is shown to have been guilty of corruption within the meaning of the chapter in respect of that act before the doing thereof. So ask yourself, didn't the guy land the contract? Didn't he finish executing the contract before the vehicle came? So this will be after. Now, is it true, and which has not been denied, that indeed somebody introduced him to the then vice president before he got the job? So after getting the job, you decide to now
we don't know for a fact that it's because they became friends that they got.
These are the facts which have not been denied. I thought somebody would say that, oh, no. Nobody introduced him to any vice president. They have known each other previously or something. But what the facts are that the guy wanted a job. And through somebody, he was introduced to you. Not long afterwards, he got a job. Remember that it's not only the fence wall. Is it the Dodi Papasi? I hear there's a confusion over the name. Dodi Papasi or Dodo Papasi or whatever. He got another job. And there was a third one in the works. I don't know what might have happened. And I hear he pulled out of 82 million Ghana cedis, kind of, and the praises that were showered on him and all that. So that if you situate it within the background that I've spoken about and now apply them to the facts, you get a clear, a view of a conflict of interest situation as well as some corruption. And you said it is presumed until the contrary is proven. So nobody is saying that, yes, we have the evidence. And that is why we call for the bipartisan proof.
But that provision is rather interesting, that it rather presumes guilt as opposed to the presumption of innocence until you're proven guilty.
That is what we had when the PNDC came in, onto the scene. People were presumed guilty, and they were now asked to rather prove that they were not.
And we're coming into force of the 1992 Constitution. Why do we still have?
Oh, well, my wife, between 92 and 2000, who was in charge? That's a PNDC style of doing things. So some of these things, in fact, like
but that's the law as it is.
One of your friends who used to say here that is it Jantua, who used to say that the Constitution was crafted for only one man. Everything the Constitution was crafted for only one man to make sure that he stayed on. But you see, this Shiraj thing, I don't think it washes. First of all, they have a right to deal with corruption. There's no doubt at all. Where there's perception of corruption, Shiraj has power. But what is the end result of Shiraj's reports?
Right.
The recommendations go to either the Auditor General or to the Attorney General. So the Attorney General is an appointee of the President, and you go and give him a report that you think the President has had a conflict of interest situation, or the President is corrupt in terms of 244. So
what would you propose to be?
So we looked at then you look at the constitutional provisions, which deals Article 69, which deals with the removal of a president, and there the numbers are a bit lower because you just need about 1/3 of members calling for the institution of a probe into the matter. Now you see, Parliament has records. Answered this, that. So whatever takes place there will be properly recorded for whatever future, But then when it comes to removal, you still have that problem, 2/3. And there's no way, that you whip NDC people in line. I was giving this analogy. Now look at what is happening in Brazil. They have the largest in terms of the president's party has the largest in terms of representation in both houses, and yet the people decided that no, this one there we are not with you. You have to go. So she was surprised. At the start they thought maybe in the lower house the others will have their way. Those who were calling for removal, but when it gets to Senate, it will change. That one did not change. The people were bent on seeing themselves as legislators who have power to determine whether the president had done something wrong, whether the president ought to face Senate, some further investigations for the removal. And they voted and even suspended them from office. It will never happen.
But then there's also the example of the Nixon issue and the Watergate issue where you had...
We are still talking about white
other jurisdiction. You don't think that applies here?
No,
you don't have the confidence in...
No, it won't work.
Very well.
It won't work.
You never know.
Because the kind of situation in which we find ourselves is such that, these places are seen as, offices that
we are running a different type of politics.
Profit and all kinds of things. Look at the Prime Minister of Britain announcing that he will step down by October. There was no quivering in his voice, nothing. He spoke clearly as if it was himself. Are you likely to have such a thing happen in Ghana? How it will pain somebody that is exiting from office. We even want to change the constitution to extend his time and all that. They've gone beyond that. You now have people who have made it already in their private lives.
Aren't we comparing different systems, perhaps, where the system operating in the UK is clearly different?
No, we are on our way there. We are practicing the democracy, which they have also done for many, many, many years. America has gone beyond 200 years. How old are we? How old is Ghana? We haven't reached anywhere yet. So we will get there eventually.
But as we get there, we'll be committing these.
For now, whether you go to Shraj or whether you go to Parliament, the results will not work. That is why the president should be bold to tell Ghanaians, the constitutional provisions are there. Just follow them. Just follow them, because he knows that at the end of the day, you will not get the 2/3 majority to have him removed. But I would opt for that one, because you get everybody coming on, our representative, the people's representative, discussing this matter. We'll get the records for purposes. The answer will be there for future references. So even if you go to the voting and you lose, there will be the record there. But not for the Shraj thing, which would only end up in the office of the attorney. So to me, there is the conflict of interest No doubt about that. And there is the corruption under 244 because it happened after the event. If the facts that indeed this man was introduced to him and he told him that I was looking for a job.
Very
I
well.
want, you know,
Thank
I
you,
want
Mr.
contracts.
Otoo. I'll move on to Dr. Jinapo now.
Well, I think it's very interesting. Interesting and a difficult matter. In the sense that I quite remember when President Bush Sr., the one who happened to have been deputy to Reagan, when he was contesting for elections, he told the American people that, read my lips, I will never
raise taxes.
Those were his words, that read my lips. And when he came, he raised taxes. The American people voted him out. Recently, when President Mahama was in UK, he was asked a question by the UK BBC, that have you taken bribes before? He said no. He said he has never taken bribes. I listened to Honorable Ayikoi Otoo's submission, and I'll
but that's bringing in, you know, that's where he's sought whether he had received a bribe as a president or as a human being.
No, let's say president.
All of those.
I mean, the question was president, whatever it is. Well, the question was centered.
So maybe the no was anyways. Well,
but I put this question to Honorable that as a minister, has he ever received a gift before? Gifts.
Oh, you're asking him?
Yeah, I'm asking
please.
him. No,
Honorable is out of it. We are discussing the
want to
president.
speak to it. When he was a minister, did he ever receive gifts?
Honorable, I am the moderator. You don't have to answer that question.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm coming. Yeah.
I'm going to ask them a question because it's been up on their lips all over.
Yeah.
The gift that was given to President Kufuor, was it not a gift?
Yes.
Was it because he had done something for President Gaddafi?
Yes.
That's the issue.
Yes.
Is it related to anything?
Yes.
So if anybody decides to give me a gift, a
wrong.
Chinese delegation comes to Ghana, they want to invite me to visit China, and on their way say, oh, these are some rupees for you. That is a gift.
Yes.
I have done nothing for them. It is. We have to look at it within the context. Here is somebody who has landed a job, and now he's giving you a gift. Can you simply call it a gift?
That was what I was getting to. So what it means is that by inference, Honorable says that he has received what? A gift before. But you see, the point is this. I pose this question because there's a difference between a gift and a bribe. When you say you are giving somebody a gift, you are giving that person that thing without any motive of getting something from that person. And when you are giving a bribe, you are giving that person that thing to influence what? The person.
Situated
but then the
provision,
yes.
No, it can happen
let me
finish. It should not always be because the arguments most of you have been making is that you receive it so as to influence you to do something. But this one says no. Even after you have done the work, when the person brings it secretly, from 2010 to 2016, secretly,
let me the point that I'm trying to make is that when you give somebody a gift without any motive, when you give somebody a bribe, it comes with what? A motive. This whole story about
but you could give a gift
for a motive. Yeah, of course. I mean, if I give my mom a gift, the whole intention is I want her to be happy. You understand? I want to show appreciation. No, yeah, but those motives are different.
I'm not trying to influence public and a public officer.
But you see, the point is that this whole thing needs to be situated within a certain context. For me as a person, if you ask me, should the president have received that gift? I'll say no.
No.
That's me. You understand what I'm saying? If you ask me, should the president have received that gift?
Whether
I will
Japanese
say,
or
let me finish. Let me finish. I'll say no. And I think the issue even becomes more complicated today based on the president's pronouncement. He said if it was, he doesn't like Ford, he likes American cars. So the rhetorical question. So if he was given a Toyota, would he have received it?
Doesn't matter what brand it is. It's a question.
But you see, my argument is this: at the end of the day, look, if you ask me whether the guy gave the president that Ford Expedition in order to get vehicles, in order to get contracts, I would say I don't know. I don't know. It could be, it could not be.
That's where the issue about perception comes in.
Yeah, yes.
Because
yes,
you cannot. That's a difficulty
not.
with proving.
But you see, that is where I think that the president has the opportunity be it as it may, notwithstanding how damaging this issue is, to speak to this issue in a proper way, in the sense that by speaking to it, this whole issue of gifts vis-a-vis bribe for public officials will be addressed.
Then and I'll give you a typical, about it.
No. I think the way he's spoken about it, I think he needs to give us a proper narrative of what happened relative to that gentleman. I mean, Honorable Ayikoi Otoo to say that he was introduced to him. The guy later on got a contract. I mean, I think everything needs to be explained. And I'll give you a typical example. Obama. When Obama was contesting for president in 2008, indeed, Obama, the name that he was being known was Barack Obama. And that was the time that Saddam Hussein was being sought after and had been killed. So the name Hussein was a name that you never wanted to be associated with. So the Republicans brought out his name. That Hussein, it became a big issue. Xenophobia became a big issue. Obama, I quite remember, addressed the public. And he made it clear that in their private homes, the things that they say, when they come onto the public domain, they don't speak about it. And he thinks this provides the American the opportunity to discuss these things openly. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, people are xenophobic when it comes to certain other groups of people, like Muslims and stuff like that. But as a politician, he may not say it, but in private life, he says it. The argument that I'm trying to make is that, yes, we are talking about this issue, about bribery, gifts and stuff like that, publicly. It's a political issue. But in our private environments, we receive gifts. Look, as a lecturer, Abna, I influence the lives of people. I mark their papers, I grade them, and they become people because of my behavior. They give me gifts. Does that influence me?
Before you mark?
No. I mean, whether before or after, does that influence me? No. That is where I made the argument that, look, if you give me a gift, a goat, and Honorable Ayikoi Otoo is a Minister for Justice, and you give him the same goat, people will see him and they will not see me, because of the position that he holds. Yeah, that is why in every jurisdiction in the world, they have something called code of conduct for what? People in public office. You are not supposed to collect what? Gifts. And that is where I think the president has the opportunity to speak to this issue and bring finality to it. Explain to the good people of this country, what is your relationship with this guy? Who is he? Yes, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the guy being a friend to the president. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I don't think every Ghanaian contractor who was given a contract was because the person gave the president a gift. I don't think so. So at the end of the day, to conclude on this, I believe that this issue, one, is an issue that needs to be interrogated properly. I mean, the legal issue, Honorable Ayikoi Otoo made reference to a number of constitutional issues. I know he won't go to court. Because when you take the legal distance, by the nature of this country, it's not going to go anywhere. It's more of what? A political issue. But I think the president has an opportunity to use this to bring finality to this whole issue of gifts and bribe for public officials.
Very well. Mr. Popo.
I take the point that if much is given unto you, much is expected. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has been in politics for so long before becoming a vice president and a president. So he knows well about the conduct of a public officer, be it vis-a-vis an MP or a vice president. In your private life, like we've all agreed on this panel, you can do as you wish with private life. But because we want certain standards for our public official, that's why there's a code of conduct and ethics. If the facts are established, and nobody is disputing the fact, there was a car, it was given, at the point that he accepted it, he was a public official. To me, it's an ethic issue. I wouldn't want to stray into the issue of bribery, because then you have to go into legalities and trying to prove all that, and I don't want to get there. But for the conscience of every Ghanaian, be it you are a diehard NDC or diehard MPP, it doesn't matter. The most important fundamental issue at stake is that ethical conduct. You were a public official, you are not to accept a gift of certain magnitude. And even if you do, there is a procedure. If you go to the United States and most countries, there is a library for all gifts that presidents have ever received, and it's displayed.
Of a certain value.
Of a certain value.
Again, you are talking about what Honorable says that you are comparing US.
No,
to Ghana. We haven't gotten there yet.
But the point I'm trying to make is that
if you come visit my father and gives you a smoke, you have to go and declare it.
No. The point.
I mean, if that's what the code of conduct allows.
You see, you know what would have you know what would have stopped this? You know when Honorable said that secretly, if this thing came out,
but that it wasn't a secret.
No, it was. No, but my brother.
I mean, Anthony, go searching.
Let me say this, please.
For your eyes only.
If there is a registrar and if there's a register of gifts, and that is the right way to do it. Every public officer, if you receive a gift, there's nothing wrong. You see, the act is not the important, it's the thought and the afterthought. Okay? If you receive a gift, it's not a problem. The president could have received the car, but it would have been duly registered and recorded.
For the state.
No, not for the state. No, even for his person.
Yes, it was for the president.
Even for his person, he could have recorded it.
I think it's wrong though.
No. Even for his person, he could have recorded it. There are processes. If somebody dashed the vice president a car, he could have gone through the proper process and have it registered and recorded. Because there's nothing that says that he can't receive that gift. Even if he does receive it, then the process of them saying that, oh, he took it, accepted it, and gave it to the presidential pool. The president, you see, I have always advocated that we should have two things: government and the state. Governments come and go, the state.
But that's what it's supposed to be. That's what we have.
But in Ghana, we don't have a state. We don't have. Let me tell you why we don't.
What?
When His Excellency, blessed memory, Atta Mills became president, he decided how many cars he wants in his convoy. If there is a proper state, you cannot do that. No, I'm being honest with you. Listen, the state determines what the government comes into, because it's the laid down procedure in the US. And again, we go back to the US because they are our advance. When Obama wanted to use a BlackBerry, they said no. And they fought him on that. The only way they allowed one to use a BlackBerry, they took the BlackBerry away for so many weeks and brought it back to him. If you are moving in and moving out of the White House, the president and his family has no hands in the moving in and moving out of the White House, because the state has a process in which it is done. The point I'm making is that in Ghana, we don't have a state. The state has been bastardized. And because the state has been bastardized, my brother, if you disagree,
it is with their context.
Yes, I want to believe that, yes.
Let me tell you why you should not disagree. What happened in 6 March with the brochure that we have tells you how bastardized our state is. If we have a procedure and how things are done and nobody changes it, it is a laid down procedure. It doesn't matter who came in. Then the back and forth on who produced a brochure for 6 March will not be an issue. That's the point I'm making.
No, but it doesn't mean we don't have a state.
That is what
I'm not saying we don't have a state.
It's not working.
The state doesn't work.
It's context.
It's the system.
You, as anybody beating you, since you woke up, are you not sitting here talking? If we had no state, people would take your car away from you. You couldn't even have reached here. Don't say that.
I get what you're saying. Exactly, within a certain context. But
the state, it's been bastardized.
Well,
you want to say the institutions are not working?
Yes.
But brother,
challenges.
Yes.
You know.
The challenges. We've moved on from challenges. I think Ghana.
So what do we have now?
We've said challenges for far too long. We moved on from. It's no longer challenges. Our state institution has been bastardized. People come in and they determine. There are security guards who are trained for the state. A new government comes in, he sacks them and brings his own people. To me, those are the challenges that we have in the system. What I'm trying to get across is that if somebody receives a gift and the proper laid down procedure is there, it will be followed. It's even done on the blind side of the vice president and the president. Because the vice president has an office. And the office of the vice president deals with these things.
No, you see, your problem with the gift issue is this. A private individual can receive gifts. Once you go and become a public officer, you should be careful. Because the gift may influence a decision that you may have to take against that individual.
And that's where the conflict of interest
That's the conflict of interest situation. That do not place yourself there, that you are receiving gifts and say, oh, this is a process. No, you see, why they take those things away from the American presidents is this. You are not getting the gift because of you being Barack. It's because you are the president of the America. And that's why they give you a gift. So beyond a certain value, you are not to keep it. You have to even negotiate with them. If anything could be, they could allow you. I mean, even watches and the rest. You go and get expensive watches and you think you can keep them. No way. You are
the Australian example, for instance,
they'll take it away from you because, so that is the big thing. Let us don't talk about gifts to public officers. You should be careful. We will
take some comments and then go for a quick, our last break. When we come back, we go into the other topic. This is saying Mr. Albert Ahane of Kodeo, formerly of EC, was the first to state that the EC does have the database. I can tell you on authority that there are, this is somebody saying there are Nigerians with a national ID card and Ghanaian citizens boldly written on them. Of course, those are the realities on the ground we're talking about. Swan says, this is Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm. He says, okay, well, this is going to Mr. Chumesi's thing again. He says, I'm totally disappointed in TV3 morning show this morning. What is the meaning of the NDC rep came in late and so we could not allow him? And I think it's already been explained. Dr. Jinapo here has been a victim of that directive, and so it's applied to all, it's applied across board. So please, let's just take that and work with it. Good morning to you and the panel. In fact, if the objective of taking out the NHIA card holders from the register is to take off foreigners, then it's a failed agenda, because there's no guarantee that people who registered with their driver's licenses and others who registered with 2 witnesses are all Ghanaians. And this is Akposo Degbe from Akposo Kubi. So the NPP and Abu Ramadan are happy winning by elections with the current voter register, and yet the same register is not credible for the national election. I'm not quite sure. I don't get this message. Why is it that the NDC is so worried? Because about who registered with NHIA cards and the fact that they are going to be removed from the register. Are they trying to tell us that those people are NDC members? Wow. Now, when the EC declares Mahama as president, why don't they come out and say it's unconstitutional, but rather are happy about it? Why does the NDC not comply with this directive? No, I think this directive is to the EC, not the NDC. Anyways, we'll put a hold on to the messages here. We'll take our last break. When we come back, we go into the NPP promise of 216 factories in the 216 districts of Ghana. Doable or just a political rhetoric? We'll be right back.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
You have the power to reconnect old flames.
Francis Ampong, my first love. Oh. We used to dance all night long. I know a place. Then he went away to study law. I still think about him sometimes.
We have the network to make it possible.
I'll take you there. Hit me all. I'll take you there.
Amazing things happen when you move to a great network.
Bugao, baby! Francis!
Make that move! Ports to Vodafone. Enjoy an amazing experience. And if you aren't satisfied, you'll get your money back.
Vodafone. Power to you.
And some the brain a year cost to my emo. Now, Nimsa man, your some dear. A can be bibia. A my emo. Sir, a bind be a basso. Decisions will be taken if I'm home. The Senti and a Onia 95.1 FM. Yashisha Ghana that Jinjumedi. Unimia or more ye. I walk up I was see a car.
Can you see a becker and I'm obey at Tatita Yabaka?
I beg for Beba. Why would see me with you? Was so becker me.
Onia Yamiasum drink out who didn't be a free.
Within the Asempa. Yesia, I walk Ghana that Jinjumedi so. Onia 95.1 FM. If you are Juada, Ekosifiada, Yetnasia, Naya Manasa.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill bacteria and provide protection against germs which can cause infection and illnesses? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus other antiseptic liquid. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
On 25th of June.
Remember rule number 1, you are responsible for your house guests.
Join in all the action. Denzel Washington, Ryan Reynolds in Safe House.
I want you to take me in.
Saturday, 8 p.m. on our blockbuster movie.
Girls, did you hear that? Whoever wins this year's Ghana Most Beautiful maintains the crown? Oh, yes!
Hurry! Don't wait to be overtaken by anyone. This year's Ghana's Most Beautiful will be hot and very competitive with fantastic packages. The auditions start now.
Join the audition training Kumasi Golden Bean Hotel in Shiaso from 25th to the 26th of June 2016 and in Accra from 28th to the 30th of June 2016 at TV3 premises. Download GMB audition forms from 3news.com. Post your photos on social media and hashtag GMB10. Ghana's Most Beautiful Season 10 only on TV3. Ghana's Most Beautiful, redefining beauty to promote national unity.
Welcome back. This is New Day Saturday edition. We will be getting on with our fourth and final subject for the day. But before that, let me take some quick messages. Oliver Jan from Pokwas is saying, I think the president's statement that he prefers Japanese cars to American cars is totally out of place, and the impression they tend to create that the said car was added to the pool of cars at the presidency is just a defense mechanism and an afterthought. The question Ghanaians are asking is, 1, did he take the car gift? 2, did he tell Ghanaians when the car arrived? 3, did the man get contracts afterwards? And 4, has the president breached his own code of conduct? But now I don't like Ghana cedis. I prefer dollars. But if you give me cedis, I will take, because I can convert the cedis to dollars. The president should come again on this Ford deal. I wish he will resign honorably. On a more serious note, the Dodopapase Road is reported to have potholes. This is Mark from Tamale. So it says, I'm very disappointed the way the president addressed the issue when he got the opportunity to speak to the issue. To my mind, he should have taken his time. Honorable, how else? It says, Honorable Otoo, I can't make head or tail of this message, so unfortunately I'd have to skip. This is Mike Lamini from UK. He says, President Mahama should be more remorseful and stop defending the irresponsible conduct that has tarnished his integrity, credibility, and his reputation has also brought the highest office of the land into disrepute. This one says, John Dramani Mahama is the best man to lead Ghana. His current stewardship of Ghana is doing the trick in our resolve to prosperity as a country. He is indeed a visionary leader who is fixing national challenges and not managing them as those before him did. Visionary leaders look for lasting solutions to challenges and difficulties. JDM is simply on top of issues and wouldn't play to the gallery. This is Alhaji Mahama in Alhaji Mahama Salia Fiura. Okay, so let's move on now to, we just have about, we're just running out of time, about 30 more minutes to the top of the hour where we draw the curtain. So quickly, we're looking at the NPP's plan to execute an industrialization agenda which involves the setting up of a factory in each of the 216 districts in Ghana. Lots of issues coming up. People have discounted it as being impractical, unfeasible, just another grandiose promise by politicians. Others are saying, well, give us more information for us to determine whether or not it is actually doable. Others are also saying, but the NPP is insisting that this is achievable. Now, Dr. Jilapo.
Well, I think, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting in the sense that when it comes to elections, I've always said that elections where the sitting president is contesting, it's always a referendum on his performance. Is the president performing or not? And in terms of choice, when you put the president vis-a-vis the opposition, do you think the opposition will do better than what the president has done? So it's mostly a referendum. So most people who will be voting will either be voting for John Mahama or against him. But at the end of the day, I think if you look at elections, I mean, the opposition also have to say what it's going to do. And if for nothing at all, I've had the opportunity of, I mean, Rawlings' time, most of us were very young. In fact, the first one I couldn't vote. The second one I voted, but I don't even think I understood the issues very well. What I do know is 2000, when Kufuor was coming, his slogan was, you know, look at yourself and vote not for change. He didn't say vote for change. He said,
make an informed choice, basically.
Yeah, look at your way,
Situation.
your life, and vote. And you know, his message was hinged on two things. One, he gave the people hope, and two, he reignited their anger. You understand? Because as at that time, in fact, corruption was at that level. There was quite some level of despondency. So Kufuor rode on that. And as a matter of fact, even though he gave some specifics in terms of what he was going to do and stuff like that, but the general theme was, look at yourself and vote. When Mills came, Mills also rode on that same thing. He said, I'm going to give you a better Ghana. Better Ghana. Who doesn't want something better? We all want something better. You understand what I'm saying? Today, Nanado says he's going to build 216 factories. And for me, when you look at a factory, it's now that Ghana things are being reduced to the lowest level. Because I remember when I was in secondary school, Damango Secondary School, in today's Ghana can be classified as 2-3 universities put together. Damango Secondary School today. I mean, if you say the secondary school or university, you know what it is. And those times, if you say a factory, you know what it is. Today, we have Gary processing factory. You go, it's just a granny mill.
Cottage industries. Those are cottage industries.
Gary processing factory. I remember.
But you usually come up with definitions. You didn't come up with a definition for factory this time.
So it's interesting. I wouldn't say it's not possible, but I think it's something that will be very, very difficult to do. It's something that will be very, very difficult to do. And does he have the opportunity? Can he be held responsible for saying that? Yes, people are going to interrogate it. You understand? People are going to interrogate it. But I think it's more of a political talk. That's me. I think it's more of a political talk. The reality on the ground is that, in fact, Abna, I shout out to say the world is moving away from this whole issue of industrialization, factories, and to a knowledge-based economy. You are talking of technology being the bane of propelling the world forward. So yes, factories are good.
But industries for a country that depends on natural resources, it's good. You add value to.
No, it's good. I don't think putting factories in every district is the way forward. No, I want to see something that's more or less will be. I've always argued.
But please be wrapping up because we just read. Yes.
I come from the educational sector. Ghana has a good opportunity to be an educational mecca. Educational tourism, where within the sub-region, Ghana becomes a place like Massachusetts, where we have the best universities and people can come.
You're talking about our educational system.
It's happening. A lot of Nigerians and the rest will come here.
So fine. I mean, he says you give 216
factories each of the 216.
I don't think it's possible. But, I mean, it's a good way to start the debate.
Very well. Mr. Ayikoi Otoo.
Well,
how does the NPP intend to execute this big idea?
I was hoping that Chumase Apia would have been here because most of these things, of whether it is doable or non-doable, starts with the NDC. they always have something to say about our promises. And this is what I put on my Facebook wall.
And the NPP has something to say about the NDC promises too.
A leader must dream big. President Kennedy said in 10 years he would put a man on the moon. At the time, it was the Soviets leading in space travel. Americans didn't ask him how he was going to do it. They believed in him, and indeed within 10 years, America put men on the moon. The NDC have ridiculed good policies of the MPP in the past, only to adopt them later. Some of the policies are free SHS. They ridiculed it and said it was not doable. Northern Development Fund, they ridiculed it only to adopt and change the name to SADA. School feeding program, they said it was undoable. Free maternal care, they laughed at it. LEAP, they said exercise in mediocrity. Today, they are touting it. Metro mass buses, also ridiculed. Today, they say they are expanding it. Very early in 1992 or so, MPP spoke about expanding the railway lines to the north.
Mr. Otoo,
NDC ridiculed
sorry
the
to
policy.
cut you, but I think, yes, we have that whole list of things. But we need to know how this is going to be done.
Do that. That's why I said.
But that's what we need to know now.
Kennedy said he was going to put a man on the moon. Americans didn't ask him how he was going to do it.
Respectfully, I think the thing is there's a context.
There is no context. I'm not going to go there. There is no context. We said SHS. You said it was undoable.
No, that's true. That happened.
You sat here, you ask questions. At the end of the day, say you have adopted it.
That's true, but
Mr. Otoo, please don't go there. I am saying I'm not going to discuss this thing. It doesn't make sense to me. You do it always. You go back and adopt it. So please let it be.
So you're not going to
let it
tell us because this is something you are selling.
You know something you're selling.
No, but this is something you're selling.
All the time to end this.
Very well. Now, Mr. Yes, Boku.
Everything we said, you said it is undoable. You still have to give our money to.
This is an opportunity for the NPP to tell the skeptics. You don't need that. Very well, Mr. Boku. Carry on.
We will do it. Wait for us and let us see what I will do.
Very well, Mr. Boku.
We have money in this country. Giving it to Wyoming. Give it to us.
Mr. Boku is on the floor, please. I'm telling you. I will come back to him. Maybe then you'll be ready. Yes, Mr. Papu.
One industry in an area
or
one industry in a district. If you go to Thailand, it's there.
What's your problem?
You know,
let me first of all let me give you a premise. No, but Mr. Otoo, please allow me. The thing is, we do first of all we do appreciate the benefits industrialization is going to bring to the states and everything. But there's a context.
Of what?
Which context?
You have an economic situation, for instance.
Okay.
How are you going to do it? It's a question. How is the NPP going to do it?
How are you going to do it? It's not for me to answer that. But let me tell you where I'm coming from. I want to quote Mr. Kofi Annan 2 days ago.
And what form is it going to be? Is it
going
to be private?
But those things are not. Can I?
Well, we are running out of time, so Mr. Poku, please go on. Carry on.
Do what I'm saying. See, Kofi Annan said a couple of days
2
ago
minutes
that look, the rate at which we are producing unemployed youth, okay, we need something out of the box to accommodate the level of unemployment coming. I've always said on this platform that we need a 21st century politician who has solutions for 21st century problems. You have to think out of the box. We live in Ghana where 1 + 1 is no longer 2. So
what
if
is it?
what,
Is it
no, the point I'm trying to
industrialization is not thinking outside the box, is it?
It is because
how is it?
He's saying that somebody's saying that look, I am going to do one industry in a district. You see, this is the thinking.
But
and
you know, this was also in the 2014 budget. It was in the 2014
budget.
budget.
Special assistant, listen.
It was in the 2014 budget.
Can I expand on this?
No. I'm talking about the NPP.
Can I expand on this?
Please go on. Please.
Is it feasible?
Your final words.
Yes, it's very feasible. Very feasible. You know what it is?
We need to wrap up. It's 30 seconds to go, so just finish it and let's go.
Let me do. Look, it is based on looking at harnessing the potential of each area. That's the base of it. That's all it is. It is very feasible. Why can't it? Why it's not feasible?
Very well.
My brother,
now,
it's not. Somebody said they're going to build 200 schools in 4 years.
We need to wrap up now. Viewers and listeners, this is where we go on the show. Thanks to the panelists, Dr. Dinapo, Mr. Ayikoi Otoo and Mr. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, Mr. Chimesiapia unfortunately couldn't make it. We hope he makes it the next time we invite him. Do have yourselves a great weekend and a productive week. We'll see you same time next week. Have a good day.